After struggling alongside Jisoo for 10 years, we finally upgraded from a rented apartment to a luxury mansion, but he unexpectedly obtained a system that allowed time reversal, returning to that summer when his first love was still alive, so he abandoned his multi-million-dollar fortune without hesitation and clicked confirm, and just like that, I got dragged back to high school along with him. I decisively broke up with him, but he couldn't understand. It's just starting over from scratch, is it really that big of a deal? Me, it is. Hearing this, he got furious. After rescuing his white Moonlight, he enrolled in the same university as her. Everyone said he was just being petty with me, waiting for me to coax him back, but I paid no heed, for I already knew, time reversal has its limits, alter one link, and the future shifts accordingly. 7 days later, we returned to a decade later, only to find Jisoo utterly dumbfounded. 1. After the college entrance exam results were released, the school organized a college application guidance session. When I stepped back onto campus grounds, it felt like a lifetime had passed. Beside me, Jisoo fanned himself in the heat, muttering, "It was winter just yesterday, and now we're suddenly back to summer. Really takes some getting used to." After a moment of silence, I blurted out, "Let's break up." Jisoo froze momentarily at my words. He never expected that after 10 years together. My first act upon returning to high school would be dumping him. When he regained his composure, his brows furrowed instantly. "Xingyu, what did you just say?" I turned to face his suddenly decade-younger face, mustering all my patience as I said, "We're done." Seeing the determination in my eyes, Jisoo froze mid-motion, confusion flashing across his face. "What's your problem now? We're back in high school, 10 years younger. Aren't you happy about that?" "Happy?" My lips twisted as I finally exploded. "Jisoo, have you lost your damn mind? Why the hell would we want to go back to high school? Do you even remember how much we suffered to finally make it after all those years of struggle?" I swear I'd crack his skull open just to see what's inside. Did zombies eat his brains or something? Who in their right mind would abandon hard-earned success to return to square one? I was boiling with rage I could barely contain. But Jisoo merely froze for a second before replying nonchalantly, "I haven't forgotten. But haven't you always been by my side?" He paused here, his eyes clouded with sorrow and faint hope. "I just wanted to save Mingxi. She didn't deserve to die this summer." I knew exactly who this Mingxi was. Mingxi used to sit in front of Jisoo in class. Despite acing her college entrance exams, her family stubbornly refused to let her attend university, unable to submit her application. She fell into despair and jumped to her death that summer. She's truly in a pitiful, heartbreaking situation. I won't deny that, but I barely know her. Why should I pay for someone else's life with the fruits of my years of hard work? When I remained silent, Jisoo's patience ran out, his tone laced with amusement. "It's just starting over from scratch. Is it really that big a deal?" I took a deep breath before replying coldly, "Yes, it is." At my words, Jisoo's expression shifted slightly. But before he could respond, a clear female voice called from behind, "Jisoo, the lecture's about to start. We'll be late." We turned simultaneously to see a strikingly beautiful girl. When our eyes met, she flashed me a radiant smile. A gentle breeze tousled the hair at her temples, and the delicate dimples on her cheeks looked utterly charming. Jisoo instinctively took 2 steps toward her before remembering me. Turning back, he lowered his voice, "You're a grown adult, not actually 18. Stop being childish, cool off and go to the lecture first." With that, he hurried over to Mingxi. The usually composed man now trailed awkwardly beside her like an inexperienced teenager as they headed toward the auditorium, leaving me standing there alone. I skipped the lecture and headed straight home, too, but on the bus ride back, tears started streaming down my face uncontrollably. 10 whole years, a full decade of hard work. Just like that, everything went back to square one. A wave of despair threatened to consume me, slowly dragging my memories back to the past. Jisoo and I grew up together. His family lived right next door to mine. When we were kids, my parents constantly argued about money, and so did his. When the fights at home got too intense, we'd escape to the park, sitting there all afternoon licking popsicles, ending with a goofy shared smile. With so much in common between us, falling into mutual dependence was practically inevitable. After high school, we enrolled in the same university, worked part-time jobs together, and naturally became a couple when the time felt right. By graduation, we'd logically taken the next step and gotten married. Struggling to make ends meet in the big city, we skipped the wedding and just got our marriage certificate. During our toughest year, we huddled together in a leaky rental apartment, dreaming about the future. He rested his arm under my head with a smile. When we make it big, I'll give you the life you deserve. Just then, a raindrop fell with a mocking plink, as if laughing at our naivety. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Great, then I'll live in a mansion someday. He chuckled back. Deal. But starting a business was no walk in the park. To land a single order, I'd run around under scorching sun meeting partners, got heatstroke more than once, even ended up hospitalized from drinking too much during negotiations, yet somehow, we pulled through it all. We made it, amassing a fortune worth tens of millions. What we thought would be the beginning of happiness shattered one night when a mysterious system approached Chi-Su. The system revealed he could travel back through time to any moment he desired and alter the past. A glowing blue interface materialized before our eyes. At first Chi-Su didn't believe it, but the system's sudden appearance was astonishing enough. Feeling uneasy and unwilling to revisit the past, I frowned and warned him. Don't buy into this nonsense. What I never expected was this. The normally rational Chi-Su immediately clicked confirm without hesitation. In a split second, a blinding white light flashed. Just before blacking out, I heard him whisper faintly, if I go back, maybe I can save her this time. At that moment, my mind went completely blank. After all these years together, was there always someone else in his heart, that person? He willingly abandoned his multi-million-dollar fortune just to travel back in time and save her. What a grand love story. I suddenly found it somewhat ridiculous, yet couldn't bring myself to laugh. At that moment, an electronic voice echoed in my mind. Congratulations, host, on returning to the past, though only for 7 days. If you don't alter any causality, you'll return to your original timeline 10 years later. Any changes will affect the future. Note, if more than 2 people undergo time regression, only one randomly chosen by the system will retain their memories. I froze. So, I can actually go back. 3. I turned around and headed back to school. A decade of shared history isn't something to take lightly. You can't just turn off feelings like flipping a switch. When I found Chi-Su, he was just leaving the lecture hall with a faint smile playing on his lips, murmuring something to Mengshi. His gaze faltered when he saw me, probably still smarting from our last argument, before deliberately turning away. Let's go submit our college applications, was all he said, pretending not to notice me. By we, he meant himself and Mingxi. Mingxi tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, looking slightly embarrassed. Is it really okay for me to come to your place? Chi-Su gave a casual laugh. Why wouldn't it be? My parents aren't home. Well, alright then, Chi-Su. I called out his name. Chi-Su halted in his tracks, glancing at the still-breathing Mengshi. I was unexpectedly struck by a pang of guilt. Mengshi didn't notice my discomfort. Glancing at Chi-Su, she whispered, is she your friend? We're not in the same class, I just know her in passing. Hearing this, Chi-Su gave me a brief glance and said coolly, yeah, we're neighbors. Neighbor. I froze. An inexplicable bitterness welling up in my chest, the words on my tongue suddenly stuck there. The summer heat was relentless, yet I felt strangely numb to it. It was Chi-Su who finally broke the silence. Let's go, it's sweltering out here. Alright, Mingxi waved at me. See you later then. Me. Chi-Su didn't look back as he thoughtfully hailed a cab for her, yet before, he'd always tell me, taking the bus is fine, I'll ride with you. Back then, I just thought he was being frugal. So that's how it is. He does have a caring side after all. The system's words still echoed in my mind, yet I didn't chase after them. 4. I went home alone. There are 3 days left until the application deadline. Back then, to avoid a long-distance relationship, I chose a local university with Chi-Su, but as my career took off and I traveled more, I began regretting not attending a better school. Given a second chance, I could rewrite my life's path. At this thought, my simmering resentment finally settled. I didn't step outside for the next 3 days, right up until the college application deadline. My best friend Xia Qing asked me out for some fun. I hadn't seen her youthful self in ages, so I happily agreed. We went to see this year's blockbuster movie. To my surprise, I ran into Chi-Su at the cinema. He was holding 2 tickets in his hand. Our eyes met in an instant. Catching us both off guard, he froze momentarily. A flicker of panic in his eyes before quickly composing himself, walking toward me. He said, don't get the wrong idea, Mengxi's never been to the movies before. I just wanted to take her. I nodded calmly. Noticing my aloofness, Chi-Su stared at me for 2 seconds before inexplicably growing irritated. Lowering his voice, he asked, still mad, with our past life experience, we'll succeed faster anyway. Why be so petty? It's not just about that, Raising my eyes, I murmured. What if I told you we could return immediately? If you don't change, then we'll remain husband and wife. I spoke earnestly, but Chisu dismissed it. Stop joking, we're already back, and how could you bear to let someone die without helping? I never realized you could be so heartless. He had a point. I nodded. Fine, have it your way. If you're making changes, so am I. Let's see what happens in 7 days when we return to 10 years later. It was over in an instant, hardly what you'd call suffering. Chisu's expression turned icy. Must you always speak like this? Just as I was about to retort, Mengshi returned from the restroom. The moment Chisu spotted her, he walked straight toward her without a backward glance. Me, Xiaqing returned with popcorn and spotted their figures in the distance. Surprised, isn't Chisu your boyfriend? Why is he walking with Mengshi? Not anymore, not now, and never will be, I murmured. Lowering my gaze, the moment those words fell, the person walking ahead suddenly froze mid-step. 5. But he didn't turn around. I didn't mind at all, and peacefully watched that long-missed movie with Xiaqing. It's a story about a housewife breaking free from domestic constraints and reclaiming her life. As the credits rolled, it suddenly struck me how Xiaqing had married young and started a family after failing college entrance exams. In the end, her husband looked down on her lack of education. Her son grew distant, and she developed severe depression. On the verge of suicide, she gave me a call over the phone. She chuckled with a hint of confusion. Xiaoyu, is education really that important? Distracted by work, I answered offhandedly, sort of. She didn't seem to mind, pausing briefly before continuing. If only I'd repeated my final year to retake the college entrance exams back then. I sensed something was wrong. But when I put aside my work and returned to my hometown to find her, people told me she'd already passed away. She was only 27 that year. At this thought, I couldn't help but glance sideways at the radiantly youthful Xiaqing. The ponytailed girl stared intently at the movie screen, her failed college entrance exam barely casting a shadow over her spirit. The flickering screen light danced in her eyes, bright, vivacious, and full of life. Xiaqing, I spoke softly, huh? She heard me and turned her head, gazing at her intently. I finally made up my mind and said with restrained emotion, college is wonderful. Would you consider retaking the year? We could still be together then. I remember it vividly. She's got real talent for design. She shouldn't be confined to this tiny corner of the world. Xiaqing froze for a second at my words, then scratched her head. But I don't think I'm cut out for studying. No worries. I'll give you online tutoring when the time comes. I pulled out all my corporate survival tricks, laying out grand plans for her future with all the pie-in-the-sky promises. Her eyes sparkled with naive innocence as she was easily persuaded. All right, I'll give it my best shot. I nodded approvingly. MHM, 6. By the time the nearly 3-hour movie ended, night had already fallen. As we exited the theater with the crowd, Chisu seemed inexplicably distracted. Chisu, what's on your mind? Mengshi stopped walking after getting no response to her repeated questions, her voice laced with concern. Startled by the voice, Chisu snapped back to reality, his eyes instinctively scanning the crowd around him. The sea of faces swirled before him, yet none belonged to the person he knew. Perhaps Xingyu had gone to see a different movie than the rest of them, Chisu thought to himself, but only said aloud. It's nothing, Mengshi chuckled at his words, her fair cheeks flushing slightly as if remembering something. Since you treated me to the movie, let me take you for some spicy hot pot. Chisu's brows unconsciously furrowed. He hadn't eaten street food like spicy hot pot in ages, and frankly had no appetite for it. Just as he was about to refuse, Xingyu's deliberately distant attitude flashed through his mind, sparking an inexplicable surge of irritation. It's just starting over from scratch. Was she really making such a big deal out of it? Meeting Mengshi's hopeful gaze, he gave a nod. All right. Hearing this, the girl visibly brightened, fiddling with her hem as she took a few playful steps forward. Chisu, she teased, let's go to school together when the semester starts. Chisu had originally applied to a local university with strong programs in his field, but this time around, after much deliberation, he figured there was no harm in exploring other options and casually enrolled at the same university as Mengshi. After all, he had the advantage of his past life's experience. At the mention of this, he glanced at his phone with inexplicable restlessness. Xingyu still hadn't texted back. Didn't she even care which school he applied to, or maybe she'd chosen a local college after all? At this thought, most of his anger dissipated. Fine, he said, but I'm bringing someone along. That girl neighbor of yours. Mengshi pressed further, Chisu hesitated briefly before replying offhandedly, yeah, he still hadn't fully forgiven her. Let her calm down first before telling others about their relationship. 7. That night, I heard Chisu applied to the same university as Mengshi. In the past I would have confronted him, but now I couldn't care less. Anyway, I didn't apply to any local universities. But what I never expected was, just as I was about to sleep, Chisu suddenly called, Xingyu. Did you see the university I mentioned in my Moments post? His tone wasn't exactly friendly, but it left room for reconciliation. Half asleep, I mumbled, yeah, saw it, but I'm not applying to the same one as him. Hearing my reply, the person on the phone seemed to relax, murmuring, we'll still be at the same university then, just like before, even if we really go back 7 days, we'll still be married. Stop muttering, it's driving me crazy. I hung up immediately, turned over, and went back to sleep. The following days passed quickly. Fearing unexpected changes, I meticulously planned every step, until the 7th day arrived. I was sorting through my senior year notes when the system contacted me. A cold electronic voice suddenly whispered in my ear, time's up, initiating return portal. My fingers froze mid-motion. The densely packed notebooks rustled as a draft swept through. The page corners that should have yellowed with time remained surprisingly fresh from that summer 10 years ago. Fluttering like whispered secrets. The next instant, a blinding white light flashed before my eyes. My heart began pounding uncontrollably. What would this uncertain future hold? 8. Meanwhile, next door, Chisu reclined on the worn red leather sofa, clutching his lagging phone with a furrowed brow, refreshing the screen over and over. Yet the chat history remained frozen from days ago. Bad reception, or unstable connection. He reflexively blamed the internet connection, shaking his phone in frustration. Yet despite the refresh confirmation, no new messages appeared. In the past, Xingyu would have bombarded him with texts, just ordinary daily stuff, would ask if he'd eaten yet, would ask what he was up to, but now, the chat window lies empty. A vague unease stirred in his chest, quickly suppressed. Now that he's calmed down, he's actually feeling a bit out of his element. After getting used to the finer things, living in this rundown shack again feels like a step backward. He has to check his balance before every purchase. Just the cab fare ate up his entire daily food budget. Xingyu had every right to be angry, but she's far too quick-tempered. Chisu massaged his forehead in exasperation. After a long pause, he rose to find Xingyu, but before taking more than a few steps, a blinding white flash streaked across his vision. As the light faded, the man's gaze froze when the scene before him came into focus. 9. A decade can transform a city beyond recognition. The once low-rise buildings have now soared into skyscrapers. Chisu stared at the massive high-definition screen in the city center, first stunned, then overjoyed. Had he really returned? Wrong. What about Mingxi? He pulled out his phone and scrolled through the contacts. Soon enough, he spotted a familiar name. He clicked into Mingxi's social feed, where recent photos showed the woman sipping coffee in an elegant spaghetti-strap dress. Compared to her awkward teenage look from 10 years ago, the now made-up Mengshi had matured significantly. He'd actually altered the past, but soon, Chisu sensed something wasn't quite right. Why isn't his phone the latest model? And what's more, he glanced down at his clothes. No designer labels in sight. A strange unease crept through him as he suppressed his anxiety and hailed a cab straight to his former villa. There's someone in the villa. Chisu felt slightly relieved. Just as I thought. This still makes sense. Everything will fall into place once we find Xingyu. He knocked on the door, but it took ages for someone inside to answer. It was winter, and the southern climate was damp and chilly. The kind of cold that seeped into your bones with every gust of wind, shivering violently. Chisu snapped impatiently. Xingyu, you. The words died in his throat. A middle-aged man emerged from inside, eyeing him suspiciously. Who are you looking for? Chisu's pupils contracted, his throat tightening involuntarily. How could this be? 10. After being escorted out of the villa by security called by the man, Chisu stood dazed on the asphalt road, utterly stunned. How is this possible? Hadn't he traveled 10 years into the future? Why didn't the villa belong to him anymore? And what about Xingyu? Right, Xingyu. He pulled out his phone, frozen fingers frantically scrolling through contacts, desperate to find Xingyu. But after combing through everyone, she was nowhere to be found. He couldn't recall Xingyu's phone number for a moment, muttered damn it under his breath, and took a cab to the office. This time, things unfolded exactly as he'd anticipated. The company was still there, but nearly deserted. A far cry from its former scale. The few employees who noticed him just gave a perfunctory Chairman Chi, "Where's Xingyu?" He barely recognized any of the staff inside, but he couldn't afford to care anymore, suppressing his emotions as he asked. He remembered working side by side with Xingyu at the company during this period. She was his deputy director. Logically speaking, she should still be at the office. Could she be out on a business trip? Before the thought fully formed, the person before him gave him a strange look. "Xingyu, who's that? We don't have anyone by that name in our company." Like a thunderbolt striking Chisu's head, his heart seemed to stop beating in that instant. 11. Everything had changed. Everything has changed. Realizing this, Chisu forced himself to stay calm. After leaving the office, he called up his former classmates one by one to inquire about Xingyu's recent situation. Someone actually knew and casually told him, "Oh, Xingyu, she and her best friend went to Beijing, I heard. Seems they're doing pretty well with their business now." Chisu's fingers tightened around the phone, gripping it so hard they turned white. He suddenly remembered what Xingyu had told him before: "If nothing changes, you can return to 10 years later." But he changed things. Was this the butterfly effect in action? Yet they'd been together for over a decade. A decade of loving memories couldn't possibly be fabricated. How could she truly abandon him? At this thought, he swallowed hard, suppressing the overwhelming unease in his chest. After hanging up, he frantically began scrolling through his phone. The university he graduated from was what he'd previously listed, the same school as Mengshi. He owns a company, but there are barely any employees in the work group. He has no idea how he survived these past 10 years. Why didn't he become the CEO of a listed company like in his previous life? He clearly should have had way more experience by now. He's going to confront Xingyu about this. 12. I was having lunch with Xia Qing when the receptionist called to say someone claiming to be my boyfriend was asking for me. Xia Qing froze for a second before widening her eyes in shock. "Babe, when did you start dating someone behind my back?" I was equally confused. "I didn't, really." Xia Qing clearly didn't buy it. Putting down her chopsticks, she pressed further. "That puppy-eyed junior." She was referring to the college guy next door who had these innocent puppy dog eyes. I shook my head. "Or the Hermes guy. There's this rich second-generation heir who keeps showering me with Hermes gifts." I shook my head again. "That was..." She rattled off a long list of names until my head spun. I'd been swamped like a spinning top, barely more than acquaintances with most people. Seeing my denials, Xia Qing snorted and pushed back from the table. "Well then, let's see who dares to frame our CEO Sheng. I'm curious too." Have the receptionist send them up. Soon enough, the strikingly handsome young man stood before me. I recognized him at first glance. It was my childhood friend, Chisu. The man visibly brightened when he saw me. In a few quick strides, he was right in front of me, instinctively gripping my shoulders. "Xingyu, what the hell happened? Where's our home?" I was utterly confused. Xia Qing, who'd been watching from the side, finally recognized him after a closer look. Well, if it isn't my childhood sweetheart from centuries ago." Ignoring Xia Qing's teasing, Chisu kept his bloodshot eyes locked intensely on me. I pushed him away and took a step back, frowning. "Chisu, what are you talking about? We broke up 10 years ago." The moment the words left my mouth, the man's face instantly paled. 13. Meeting my unfamiliar gaze, Chisu's eyes flickered violently as his lips trembled, repeating hoarsely, "Broke up 10 years. I remained non-committal. Xia Qing couldn't help adding, "By the way, weren't you getting pretty close with Mengshi before? How come you two never got together?" I listened calmly without reacting. Hearing this, Chisu seemed to suddenly realize something, his expression relaxing as he explained, "Are you still sulking? It was just 7 days. There's nothing between Mengshi and me." Sulking, 7 days. I can't figure out why Chisu suddenly showed up after 10 years to dump all these random things on me, though I did hear classmates casually mention him before. After graduation, Chisu went to Haishur to start a business, but it didn't go well. His lack of professionalism meant few companies wanted to work with him. An ex suddenly reaching out, "Is he just after money?" My expression grew complicated. "Spit it out. How much do you need?" I cut off his endless rambling, caught off guard by the question. Chisu froze momentarily. "What?" I sighed in exasperation. "Chisu, for old time's sake, I'll help you this once, but you should know we're done. Don't come asking for money next time." The words came out harsher than intended. The man grew irritated. "Xingyu, how long are you going to keep pretending? We're literally married." Before he could finish, a clear voice cut him off. "Excuse me, sorry to interrupt." Everyone turned to see a 6 feet 2 inches college guy standing at the doorway, broad-shouldered with a tapered waist, radiating raw magnetism even in just a plain tee and jeans, his puppy dog eyes dark yet sparkling. What's he Yan doing here? I froze for a moment. Ever since starting this job, I'd kept forgetting meals and less eating with Xia Qing, leaving my stomach aching from hunger. Ever since I got to know He Yan, who lives next door, he's been bringing me delicious treats regularly. Before long, we became quite close, seeing several people in the office. He Yan walked in completely unfazed, holding a bag casually. Brought you some fruit, he said naturally. You really should eat more, it's not good for your health otherwise. What time are you off today? I bought ribs, could make you sweet and sour spare ribs. My face grew warm, but not wanting to embarrass him, I just replied, around 6. Xia Qing covered her mouth to stifle a giggle. Jisoo stared blankly for a long moment before finally snapping back to reality. You cheated on me, he asked in disbelief. The room fell deathly silent at those words. 14. Even with the thick skin I'd developed over the years, Jisoo's words still managed to shock me. Damn it, what the hell, if I could turn back time, I'd have the front desk kick him out immediately. He Yan's sharp eyebrows furrowed slightly as his scrutinizing gaze settled on Jisoo with measured assessment. Xia Qing stared blankly for a moment before giving Jisoo a look reserved for lunatics. Jisoo, you broke up with Xiaoyu over a decade ago. What's this nonsense about cheating? Are you hallucinating? Jisoo glared at Xia Qing with venom. We've been married for years. I know every mole on her body. His booming voice carried through the open space, drawing furtive glances from passing employees outside the glass walls. My expression froze as an inexplicable pang of sorrow welled up in my chest. But what followed was nothing but cold indifference. Jisoo, I don't know what's gotten into you, but we broke up long ago. Marriage is out of the question. Check your marital records if you don't believe me. Fine, I will. Jisoo pulled out his phone. Time ticked by relentlessly. The man's flushed face gradually paled. In growing desperation, he kept refreshing the page, muttering, this can't be. I distinctly remember we got our marriage license right after graduation. We just never had the ceremony. I had a strong suspicion his business failures had driven him over the edge. Without hesitation, I called security to have him escorted out. It'll take a few minutes for security to arrive. Jisoo suddenly turned back, eyes bloodshot. You've really forgotten everything. What have I forgotten? I lost my patience. I haven't forgotten a damn thing. Just as he was about to approach me, a tall figure stepped between us, blocking the man's line of sight. Then came a sudden, powerful punch. Jisoo was knocked to the ground with a thud. Without turning around, He Yan shielded me behind him, his voice tense. Be careful, this guy might be mentally unstable. Me, that makes perfect sense. 15. I remember it crystal clear. After high school, I got into my dream out-of-town university to study management. During college, I tutored Xia Qing whenever I didn't have classes. In just 1 year, I helped boost her test scores from the 400s to over 600. She became my junior at school. The year we graduated, I secured startup funding and co-founded a clothing company with Xia Qing. Xia Qing had a real flair for design and handled the clothing lines, while I took charge of marketing. It all started with just a handful of orders, and eventually we built our own brand, growing the business step by step. Looking back occasionally, Xia Qing would sigh, had you not insisted on me going to college, I'd probably be a housewife in our hometown now. I can't recall why I was so adamant about her education back then. But hearing this, I just smiled and said, better days are coming. Xia Qing's eyes curved into crescents, radiating youthful confidence. The memory ends here. I don't think I've forgotten anything. If it were real, then it wouldn't matter anyway. 16. After Jisoo was taken away, the office fell silent again. Xia Qing spat out angrily. Exactly. A decent ex should vanish like the dead. I pressed my lips together without speaking. Heian left after delivering the fruit without further questions. Though I no longer cared about Jisoo, my good mood was thoroughly ruined. After work, Heian came to pick me up on his own initiative, bringing my favorite wisteria flowers. His ears turned pink as he handed me the flowers. Noticing this, Xia Qing gave a knowing wink and whispered, your neighbor might seem aloof, but he's actually quite thoughtful. I couldn't help but laugh. All right. I'm heading out then. Bye. Xia Qing waved at me. He Yan started the car as figures outside the window began receding. Through the rearview mirror, I watched Xia Qing turn and enter the office building with a faint sigh. She's completely uninterested in marriage, even more career-driven than I am. But that's actually a good thing. what else would you like for dinner tonight? A voice suddenly sounded in my ear. I turned to see the red light, with Hee-Yen slightly tilting his head to look at me. I'd expected him to at least mention Chi-Su, but never thought he'd bring this up instead. Whatever, I said casually. Alright, how about scrambled eggs with tomatoes, sweet and sour pork ribs, and loofah soup? The light turned green. Hee-Yen turned back and focused on driving. I stared at his profile, my lips parting as if to speak, but in the end, I said nothing. 17, truth be told, I never intended to get too involved with Hee-Yen. My parents' failed marriage left me distrustful of the institution altogether. In the end, even the childhood friend I once relied on so much became an ex. There was a time when I believed my career would be my lifelong companion. I'd actually said this to Hee-Yen quite openly, but Hee-Yen just wouldn't give up. He said feelings can grow over time. If 5 years isn't enough, we'll take 10. He cooks 3 meals a day for me and picks up the chores when I'm feeling lazy. Gently weaving himself into the fabric of my life, lost in thought, the car came to a stop. We're home, the voice snapped me back to reality, and I followed Hee-Yen into the elevator. While waiting for him to cook dinner, my phone suddenly pinged with a friend request. It's Chi-Su. I hit reject, but they wouldn't take no for an answer, sending request after request. Finally fed up, I accepted. The typing indicator popped up almost immediately. Xingyu, I swear there's nothing between Mengshi and me. That phrase again, as if I actually cared. I shot back, what's that got to do with me? Then immediately blocked him. About half an hour later, Hee-Yen finished cooking. Lured by the aroma, I put down my phone and wandered to the kitchen. Leaning against the doorframe, I watched the tall guy in an apron and couldn't help teasing with a grin. Hey, you've got serious husband material vibes going on. Really? Hee-Yen turned around, his bright eyes beneath dark hair shining like an overjoyed golden retriever receiving praise. I had the urge to ruffle his hair, but the height difference made it impossible. As if sensing my disappointment, the person who'd been standing straight suddenly bent down, offering his head to me. My heart skipped a beat as I froze for a second. The next moment, I reached up and tousled his hair. His hair was coarse to the touch, not exactly pleasant to run fingers through. Yet I felt inexplicably content, the corners of my mouth lifting as I helped him serve the dishes. Dinner's ready. Alright. 18, after the meal, I curled up on the couch mindlessly flipping through TV channels. That's my way of unwinding. After finishing the dishes, Hee-Yen came out and casually took a seat beside me. When he remained silent after a while, I inexplicably blurted out, "Aren't you curious about that man from earlier today?" Though Chi-Su was talking about something that never happened. He spoke with such conviction, as if we'd truly been married and intimate before. The person beside me paused thoughtfully. I don't know him, but I trust you. Of course, if you're willing to share, I'd be happy to listen. I turned to look at him, meeting his earnest gaze. After a moment, I chuckled softly. Never been married, that was my childhood sweetheart. We broke up 10 years ago. A single simple word, yet brimming with trust. I was momentarily speechless. What should I do? He actually seems kind of decent. He's just begging to be teased. 19, I did mess with him a little, pinning Hee-Yen against the couch. I stared into his eyes before playfully nipping at his lips. I'm 28, not some naive girl anymore, though shy by nature. I'm used to taking charge, always craving the upper hand. His Adam's apple bobbed violently before he rasped out, I want this official. Depends on your performance. Just a senior at 22, he's all youthful vigor and restless energy. In no time, he took the dominant role, their tongues entwined, a glistening thread trailed between them. As things progressed, I remained on top as he leveraged his strength to thrust upward from below. My body wavered uncontrollably. I nearly lost my balance from his momentum. His grip on my waist left me no escape, until we reached the peak together. 20, Hee-Yen and I officially became a couple. A year later, we got our marriage certificate. I originally wanted to keep it simple, but he insisted on a grand celebration. Before and after the wedding, Hee-Yen was busy coordinating every detail, even hiring a designer to create my wedding dress. I felt helpless, but there's no denying I was deeply moved. Xia-Qing served as my bridesmaid, beaming as she said, "Wishing you a lifetime of happiness together," with a smile. I responded and tossed her the bouquet, though not because I wished for her to marry soon. Countless roses. I hope she always stays true to herself, forever free as the wind, forever passionate as fire. Chi-Su's side story. A red exclamation mark appeared on Chi-Su's sent message. He stared blankly at the screen, lost in thought in his rented apartment. His phone suddenly buzzed again. He quickly looked down at his phone. It was a message from Mengshi. "Jisoo, want to hang out together?" Jisoo stared at the message, his mind drifting back to that summer 10 years ago. He'd long sensed Mengshi had feelings for him. I know exactly who Mengshi is in his story. Before traveling back in time, he'd even fantasized that given another chance, he would have pursued a romance with Mengshi. The unrequited first love of youth always leaves a bittersweet aftertaste when remembered after achieving success. So when he actually returned to the past, he secretly showered Mengshi with affection. But when it comes to marriage, he still wants Xingyu by his side. He and Xingyu grew up together, becoming each other's most trusted confidant. After all they'd been through together, he's certain Xingyu would never leave him. Back when they were crammed in that tiny rental, there were no wedding ceremonies or diamond rings, absolutely nothing, just a leaky roof overhead, yet Xingyu would lie in his arms, dreaming of their future together. But he never expected Xingyu's cutting words. "Not your boyfriend now, never will be." The prophecy came true. Turns out time reversal has its limits. They traveled 10 years into the future together, but everything had changed. Jisoo tried to recall the professional knowledge he'd learned years ago, but his mind went completely blank. His heart suddenly raced with panic as a terrifying thought exploded in his mind, sending chills down his spine. They had indeed returned to that moment, but this wasn't rebirth, rather. They'd traveled back 10 years as their future selves, making different choices for their younger counterparts. A decade ago, I had no so-called success formula, but every decision I made led to different transformations. Even if he started the same company again, success would remain elusive. As for those so-called secrets to success, his ascent to the pinnacle of success wasn't just his own doing. It was Xingyu's unwavering decade-long dedication that kept hope alive whenever he nearly gave up. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt. He clutched his head and let out an anguished roar. If only, he wished he could go back to when Xingyu warned him not to trust the system. He'd never make that choice again. The end. Story 2. I mustered all my courage to hand Zhou Xian a love letter in front of the entire basketball court. He just held the basketball, glanced at me with a smirk. "Little girl, you've got that troublemaker look. Not really my type." Then he pointed upward, cast a meaningful glance toward the distant lawn, and left it at that. "Zhou Xian always thinks I'd flirt with any guy during a quick water run, which drives him crazy with insecurity." I woke up to find myself 7 years in the past, right at the moment of filling out college applications. Without hesitation, I chose T University where Zhou Xian studied, determined to give him the perfect romance and erase all his doubts. But when the semester began, I was stunned to see Zhou Xian with blue hair, earrings, and tattoos. "This is my innocent boyfriend." Skeptical, I gripped the railing and stood on tiptoe to peer inside. Zhou Xian happened to circle back near me, raising an intrigued eyebrow as he asked, "Looking for someone?" Knowing him, that eyebrow raise was his tell for interest. That instant, I knew without doubt, this was Zhou Xian. "Zhou Xian," I said, staring at him with a teasing smile. The whole basketball court had their eyes on us. The atmosphere instantly electric. "Damn, Xian. You're killing it." But somehow, the light in Zhou Xian's eyes dimmed slightly. He glanced at my luggage and said dismissively, "Shouldn't freshmen be at orientation? So, can I get your number?" It was my first time hitting on someone. Even though this guy would eventually become my boyfriend, I still felt awkward. Zhou Xian casually lifted the hem of his jersey to wipe the sweat off his face, left my phone behind. "Next time." His tone was almost playful. And it wasn't until I'd walked halfway across campus that I realized I'd just been rejected. 2 hours later, with everything sorted, I stubbornly circled back to the basketball court, determined to ask Zhou Xian for his WeChat again. Who knows, it's probably rush hour between classes right now. A crowd of girls had gathered around the basketball court to watch. Zhou Xian was taking a halftime break, surrounded by a group of girls. He flashed a careless smile, casually accepting the drink a girl handed him and twisting it open to take a sip, not the slightest bit shy, nor aloof in any way, keeping people at arm's length, close enough to tempt, yet forever just out of reach. I gripped the court entrance railing, frozen in place. Zhou Xian's college years weren't meant to include me, so he'd be with others, maybe more than one. I had to watch helplessly as Zhou Xian, who should have been mine, embraced and kissed someone else, maybe even, my vision blurred. "Hey Zhou Xian, that cute junior's back again, you've got game." Someone spotted me and shouted across the basketball court to Zhou Xian, who was surrounded by admirers. Zhou Xian set down his water bottle and looked over, arching a sculpted brow with a mix of exasperation and amusement. can't let him be with someone else. After confirming this thought, I jogged over. Zhou Xian, since you don't have your phone, can I add your friend and have them share your contact? Zhou Xian lowered his eyelids slightly, giving me an unfriendly glance. Wait, with that, he walked toward the pile of backpacks, picked up a black one, pulled out his phone and came back. Scan, so you lied just to reject me. I kept my eyes on my phone as I unlocked it and opened WeChat, not even bothering to look at him. Zhou Xian accepted my friend request with a single word, forgot, the laziest excuse, delivered without a shred of remorse. After tagging him as future boyfriend and composing myself, I flashed him a sweet smile. Zhou Xian, since it's my first day here, how about showing me the cafeteria, or if you're busy, maybe one of your friends could give me the tour. His Adam's apple bobbed, a telltale sign of impatience. Surprisingly, he agreed. Fine. Walking beside him, I asked curiously, what does that Morse code tattoo on your lower back mean? Stay away from women, or you'll bring misery upon yourself. Really, could have fooled me. You were handling that crowd of women like a natural just now. My voice dripped with undisguised jealousy. Bullshit, Zhou Xian scoffed. You actually bought that. Truth is, I'm quite the player. Still wanna mess with me? My heart gave a painful twinge. I'm done playing with you. He just chuckled nonchalantly at my words and gave my shoulder a light nudge. We're here, go on in. Xian Zhou still ate with the same refined manners he'd have 7 years later, lost in thought about why he was acting this way now. I didn't even notice someone had joined us. Bro Xian, weren't you just saying you weren't interested in that girl at the basketball court? Now you're having meals together. A fair-skinned guy in black clothes winked suggestively at Zhou Xian. You're so clingy. Zhou Xian shot me a glance, though I knew he was teasing me. His words somehow wrapped around me like an endearment. This is insane. How about joining your Xian Gij for some bar hopping tonight, little sister? I looked up at him and nodded with a smile. Absolutely. Thanks for the invite, senior. No need to call me senior. I'm Chen Fong. He had that playful air about him. Locking eyes with a gaze that carried unspoken implications, I nodded without responding, but clearly, Zhou Xian, who always thought I was trouble when we were together, had felt the same way 7 years ago. He smirked mockingly. Little miss, did I say I was leaving? If you're not going, then neither am I. Zhou Xian, how could you even doubt me? You call others senior, but with me, you're all casual. Nice double standard, Gij. I said it without hesitation, meeting his gaze directly. Completely unembarrassed, he loved when I called him that. At least he did 7 years later when we got together. Sure enough, Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes, that non-existent tail of his perking up behind him, swaying with smug arrogance. So, big bro, hitting the bar tonight. Truth be told, I kinda hoped he'd go. Liquid courage makes things easier. I'm in. Chen Fong listened to the entire conversation and burst into a cocky laugh. Zhou Xian kicked his chair leg in irritation. So you're still interested in me, aren't you? Then why turn me down? Playing hard to get, too. Zhou Xian's group booked a private room. Without hesitation, I took the seat next to him and joined their round of King's Game, a numberless version of King's Game. Zhou Xian, I'm the king, I declared, staring straight at him while holding my card. When drawing cards earlier, I kept praying to get the Joker. Even God heard my wish. Zhou Xian took a sip of wine and smiled without responding. Well then. I want you to kiss me, I said, pointing to the corner of my mouth. The entire booth erupted in thunderous applause. You're amazing, Junior. Hell yeah, Junior. Sure enough, the smile gradually faded from his face, knowing full well he'd refuse, yet still making the request, only to end up heartbroken. Oh dear, what should I do? It's been so long since I last saw him. I just really want to get close to him. I made a rather awkward excuse for myself, which was also a gamble. If you really can't do it, maybe your friend could step in for you. Friend? Zhou Xian's smile vanished completely as he raised an eyebrow at me. Chen Fong was the first to react, patting Zhou Xian's shoulder with a grin. Honestly, this junior's got some fire. If you can't handle her, want me to take your place? Zhou Xian set his glass down with deliberate force, curling one corner of his mouth into a wicked smirk. Like hell you will. Get lost. The next moment, he yanked me against his chest, my face smashed into his torso as he gripped my chin, eyes burning into mine, calling everyone friend. Are you trying to pick me up or someone else? Huh, you. As the word fell, so did the kiss. The way he moved made me think he'd try to destroy me like in my memories, yet all I got was a feather-light kiss, so faint it made me wonder if his thin lips even touched me at all. The air between us caught fire. The king's turn went to Chen Feng, Zhou Xian. Why not let the little lady sit on your lap for this round? Chen Feng grinned around his cigarette. Before I could react, Zhou Xian downed his glass in one go, pale liquor tracing a tantalizing yet painful path down his jawline. He wordlessly poured and drained another glass before I finally spoke. But I'd rather sit on your lap. I'm not drinking. Defying the king's orders means drinking 2 penalty cups. I'll take yours. Zhou Xian murmured without looking at me, lazily pouring more wine. He downed 4 cups in one go. The crowd seemed to have forgotten his rejection of me, clapping and egging him on. I forced a smile and played along. The next person became king and made the same demand as Chen Feng. Watching Zhou Xian pour the wine, I lowered my head in embarrassment, clutching her skirt desperately while searching for an excuse to leave. She was effortlessly comforted by the senior girl beside her. Don't be upset, Junior. This is Zhou Xian's first time drinking during a game. How flattering that I'd make him so uncomfortable. The senior girl giggled and hugged her boyfriend, who chimed in knowingly. It just means Zhou Xian chickened out. Get it? He's not unwilling to let you sit there. He just doesn't dare. Junior, wow, you actually managed to win over our legendary playboy Xian. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Feels like I'm still miles away from actually winning him over. Exactly. Flirting's fine, but if you actually tie him down, he'll get so annoyed. Ha ha ha. We're totally rooting for this show. Junior, go get him. Suddenly Zhou Xian started looking pleasing to the eye again. He'd been forced to drink too much, though his expression remained composed. The corners of his eyes were faintly flushed. This was Zhou Xian's telltale sign of drunkenness. His long eyes with their naturally tapered lids now drooped slightly as he bowed his head, making my heart race uncontrollably. My boyfriend is so handsome, going to devour me. Zhou Xian's voice, thickened by alcohol, dropped to a husky, sensual register, nothing like his usual crisp tone. I swallowed hard before I could stop myself. Well, not that he deliberately misinterpreted me before I could finish saying not that I'd mind. Scared, then head back early. Stop clinging, dorm curfew's coming. Zhou Xian leaned deeper into the couch, his arm casually draping over the sofa behind me like he was pulling me into an embrace. I tapped my phone. 11:00 p.m. I am tired, but it's too late to fly back now. What did you usually do? Zhou Xian arched a brow, tilting his chin. Across the street was a hotel. Have you been with someone else? My heart feels stuck in my throat. Whatever, he didn't even know me before. No use dwelling on it, just focus on the future. I forgot my ID, I muttered, tugging at my skirt. So what? Zhou Xian toyed with the cigarette between his slender fingers, but didn't light it. Can I share a room with you? Zhou Xian couldn't help but laugh. Sweetheart, do you think I'm a monk or an idiot? I just want to sleep, but if you really want to, I don't mind, as long as it's you. Fuck. Zhou Xian cursed under his breath, stubbing out his cigarette before grabbing a black coat to drape over my head and pulling me away with him. My heart was pounding like crazy. No way, I'm not ready for this. We'd done this before, but never with the 20-year-old baby-faced Zhou Xian, nor the wild blue-haired version. This was the 7 years later Zhou Xian, tailored suit, silver-rimmed glasses, that refined yet utterly dangerous look. He shoved me inside and flicked the light on. I yanked the coat off my head. Zhou Xian leaned against the doorway, eyeing me with hostility. Don't provoke me again, just sleep. Where are you going? Let's go back and pull an all-nighter. I must be insane, after all this fanfare bringing me here, enduring everyone's teasing, and mentally preparing myself. He just wants to go back for drinks. I stammered before finally finding my words. Don't you have any feelings for me? Zhou Xian was about to walk away but paused, looking at me seriously. Not particularly, but I'm not picky when it comes to pretty faces. Lies. I clutched the clothes in my hands tighter and tighter. My pride told me to let him go. This version of Zhou Xian wasn't someone I could love, nor someone I could move. But remembering how tender he'd be with me 7 years later, how achingly insecure, my heart softened. I sulked and complained. Zhou Xian, if you see me 7 years from now, you'll fall for me at first sight. Zhou Xian let out a mocking laugh. Delusional much. You already are now. You just won't admit it. Get some sleep if you're not thinking straight, sweetheart. Zhou Xian flashed me a half-hearted smile, closed the door, and left. 3. The weather's rather gloomy today as our department conducts military training on the basketball court. I was completely distracted, my gaze constantly drifting to the adjacent basketball court. Hey, you there, 7th in the 3rd row. What are you staring at? Found something fascinating? The instructor had clearly noticed my distraction, reporting, "Sir, I'm looking at my future boyfriend." Zhou Xian's three-pointer went wide. Our whole department and his buddies were cracking up. "Xian, I've never seen a girl this gorgeous and badass at the same time, just say yes already." Zhou Xian passed the ball. "Stop yapping and play." The drill instructor was speechless yet amused by me. These young girls nowadays are quite bold. He smiled kindly, then abruptly turned stern. "Just because your boyfriend's watching means you can slack off." 30 squats. Now, after dutifully completing the squats, I stood waiting for the instructor's verdict, but he just waved me back into formation. "Alright everyone, take a break. Anyone want to show off some talents?" "Hey there, the girl watching her boyfriend, want to come show us something?" "Honestly, I'm not too bad at dancing." "Yes, thanks, drill instructor." I ran up and connected my phone to the instructor's speaker to play a song. As the music started, Zhou Xian's buddy knowingly stopped in his tracks, winking at him while holding the basketball. "Xian, check out your little sister dancing." "What sister?" Zhou Xian leaned against the basketball hoop post, watching half-heartedly. "Since when does a sweetheart not count as a sister?" "Humph." After the dance, the classmates gave enthusiastic applause. Zhou Xian's friends joined in the cheering too, while Zhou Xian himself just gave a couple of perfunctory claps, using getting water as an excuse. I ran up to him and asked, "How was my dance?" "Mediocre." "Mediocre how?" "It was clearly amazing." Zhou Xian chuckled, his gaze drifting downward. "Just mediocre. Pervert. I'll grow more. I've got proof. I'll be amazing in 7 years. Zhou Xian seemed thirsty, licking his lips as his Adam's apple bobbed. "No girl brought you water today, huh? Want to make do with mine? I don't mind. We're practically family anyway." Zhou Xian rubbed his temples, visibly annoyed. "I do mind. Fall in with your group. Stop loitering here." With a cold snort, I jogged over to the drink station and grabbed a fresh bottle. I never expected to run into Zhou Xian today, and I don't even remember buying an extra drink. Everything felt so natural and perfectly logical. Smiling, I walked over and said, "I brought this for you. From now on, with me around, you'll never have to endure hardship, thirst, or hunger, nor feel obliged to accept favors from other girls that'd only weigh on your conscience." With that, I shoved it into his arms, waving at him. Zhou Xian clicked his tongue. "Quit messing around for no damn reason." When the noon break came, Zhou Xian's group wrapped up too. Unexpectedly, they headed for the school gate instead of the cafeteria. I jogged up to them. "Zhou Xian, where are you guys going?" "Internet cafe." Zhou Xian shot me a glance. "Not eating, I'll get takeout." "You head back, I'd like to join you though." Zhou Xian suddenly reached out and patted my head lightly. "You've got military training this afternoon. Don't get so distracted just because you see me." "Alright." My face flushed instantly. What a narcissist he is. After all these years together, his flirting still left me giddy all afternoon. My heart sank when I saw them returning to the field. A girl in a black dress and boots walking right beside him. "So you ditched me for another girl, is that it?" That girl, I distinctly remember her being my classmate back at Z University. We never got along, always trading passive-aggressive remarks. Did my transfer to T University somehow alter someone else's destiny? I rubbed my temples, shaking off those absurd fatalistic thoughts. Zhou Xian must have sensed my burning glare. He turned his head, momentarily froze, then flashed a slightly guilty expression, then composed myself and walked past nonchalantly. During the break, I couldn't help texting him. "You wouldn't take me, but brought another girl instead. A friend invited her. Why's your friend standing so close to you?" "What, you think I'm handsome? Then back off from her already." "Got a reason?" My spirits instantly deflated. "He's single, and I'm just some disposable simp." Just as I was about to turn off my phone and wallow in misery, Zhou Xian suddenly added, "I'll try." Instant revival, right then and there. "Told you he's got a crush on me." Zhou Xian and I were both from the Cross College. When our school organized an interdepartmental dance competition and fell short of male participants, his striking good looks got him roped in as a last-minute addition. My eyes lit up the moment I spotted Zhou Xian in the dance studio. When the instructor told us to pick partners, I bolted straight to Zhou Xian without hesitation, easily the fastest mover in the room. Zhou Xian took a slight step back. "Don't be such a bandit, you're such a heartbreaker with no sense of propriety. Had I come any later, you'd have run off with someone else. You know me too well." Zhou Xian chuckled, lowering his eyelids with devastating charm. Placing a hand over my chest in an exaggerated bow, I hammed it up. "My dear prince, might I have the honor of this dance?" Zhou Xian pressed a finger against my forehead and declared with playful haughtiness, permission granted. That dance was pretty hot. Since I wasn't holding back at all and showed zero restraint, Zhou Xian only maintained gentlemanly conduct twice before narrowing his eyes and placing his hand on my exposed waist, quite slender. Zhou Xian murmured close to my ear. Tilting my head to transition into the next dance move, I teased with a laugh. You could snap it in half, big brother. Sure enough, the arm around my waist tightened its grip. He let out a cold laugh and said nothing more. When it rains, it pours. Just 2 weeks into dance practice, when Zhou Xian and I had gotten so close that anyone could see the chemistry between us, I got up for a midnight bathroom trip, missed my step, and broke my leg. My roommate dragged my sniveling self to the hospital for exams, bone setting, and a cast. When things settled down, I tentatively texted Zhou Xian, hey bro, it's the middle of the night, are you insane? I checked the time, 3 a.m., still awake at this hour, missing me too much to sleep. You woke me up, so you were dreaming about me. What is it? After hesitating for a long time, I carefully chose my words. If I stopped dancing with you, would you dance with other women? What do you think? I don't think my brother would. I clung to a sliver of hope. Heh. Midnight's the perfect time for wishful thinking. I'm feeling depressed. After all, I was this close to securing my position by dancing with him. With just 20 days left before the competition, him dancing with another girl means our engagement is definitely off. I suddenly fell into a melancholic mood and didn't notice the constant typing notification from the other side. Found someone else, have you? When Zhou Xian sent this message, I was completely stunned. I could practically see his cold smirk through the screen. Not talking. You're something else. You messing with me. He lost his cool. He was so worked up I couldn't explain. Just started firing accusations left and right. Brother, my leg's broken and you don't even care. Instead you accuse me of cheating. My heart's shattered. I started laughing like a maniac, terrifying my roommate. Luyu, you okay? Pain making you delirious? My roommate reached to feel my forehead, caught a glimpse of my chat screen, then backed away speechless. At the campus clinic, Zhou Xian sent another message. I kept nodding like crazy until my roommate reminded me to actually reply. They left me behind, a sick patient standing like a loyal stone waiting for her husband's return. Zhou Xian came running, panting, his blue bangs slightly damp and clinging to his pale skin, bending over with hands on his knees. He looked up at me through his lashes. How'd you fall? From the bed. You're hopeless. As dawn broke, Zhou Xian pushed my wheelchair toward the girls' dormitory. I won't be able to practice dancing with you tomorrow. Are you going to find another woman behind my back? My heart ached. Zhou Xian paused mid-step. It's completely aboveboard. Sniff. How could I possibly stand in your way of finding someone better? I fake-sobbed dramatically. Zhou Xian remained silent. Just as I thought the moment had fizzled out, he suddenly swept me off my feet with a textbook Princess Carrie. When we reached the dormitory, my face flushed instantly as he said without even catching his breath, dropping out of the intercollegiate competition isn't ideal. You could come supervise me. My heart skipped a beat in secret. Zhou Xian, if you like me, you should say it out loud. Zhou Xian glanced down the staircase and threatened, want me to toss you down these stairs? I immediately wrapped my arms around his neck, trying to kill me so you can find a replacement. Did I ever agree to be with you? There you go again with your drama. Shut up. The journey was bumpy, but I still scored myself a boyfriend by the time we reached the dorm. Told you he'd had his eye on me all along. Drifted off to sleep blissfully. No military training for me tomorrow. My daily routine, getting fed by roommates, dragging myself to shower, gaming, and flirting with Zhou Xian. My leg healed surprisingly fast, got the cast off in just over a week, somehow still made it to the competition, and ended up being Zhou Xian's partner. Only after the competition did I have my first proper date with Zhou Xian, played werewolf with his crew, and since I was clueless, I took the easiest role as the moderator. Night falls, close your eyes, werewolves. Open your eyes and choose your target for tonight. Just as expected, after I said this, Zhou Xian's werewolf teammates wordlessly reached a silent agreement and unanimously decided to eliminate him, which, open your eyes, he was killed tonight. Will you save him or not? Poor Zhou Xian, nobody came to his rescue. Seer, open your eyes, confirm your target for investigation. Watching Zhou Xian open his eyes beside me, I pointed a finger gun at his head, then leaned in with a grin to whisper breathlessly in his ear. Bang, you're dead, darling seer. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes, tilting his head to claim my lips. In the silent room where everyone kept their eyes shut, Zhou Xian surprised me with a dominant, possessive kiss. My heart was pounding so hard it nearly leapt out of my chest as I straightened up abruptly. Please confirm your target for inspection. After Zhou Xian confirmed the target, I declared his death at daybreak. He looked up at me and couldn't suppress a laugh. His pitch-black eyes sparkled like stars. Who would have thought that the fair and loving God would show favoritism to him alone when night fell? Chen Fang took a drag of his cigarette and sneered, dead and still throwing up couple crap. Might as well meet God in heaven sooner rather than later. Zhou Xian chuckled, resting his arm on the back of my chair. Disgusting. I cleared my throat. Ahem. Player 7. No off-topic discussions please. Fuck. Player 7. Chen Fang cursed with a laugh. Though our first date was a group hangout, I still had a great time. When Zhou Xian walked me back to the dorm, he pulled a small box from his pocket. What's this? A gift? Oh, I completely forgot to get you something. I knew you'd be heartless. Zhou Xian smirked and ruffled my hair. Go on up. But this isn't right. I feel terrible for not getting you anything. Zhou Xian leaned in close, his eyes locked on mine. As his thin lips drew nearer, just when I thought he was about to kiss me, he suddenly murmured, already gave you one. When I blinked in confusion, during werewolf, his cheeks flushed, my face burned too. This honeymoon phase lasted about 3 months, and bizarrely, I somehow developed a supernatural ability. Dreams come true, like when I dreamed my roommate failed a course, then tearfully begged the professor for mercy in their office. And it actually worked. For instance, when the faculty organizes team-building events, they're usually separated by grade level. I was just lamenting not being able to go with Zhou Xian when I dreamed the department announced freshmen and sophomores would go together this year, and then it actually happened. Once on the bus, I clung to Zhou Xian. Gidge, I was just wishing we could go together this year, and now we really are. See, we're meant to be. Zhou Xian lifted his eyelids to glance at me, this clingy. Oh. So you don't want me clinging to you, planning to sneak around with someone else behind my back? He ruffled my hair and chuckled. Quite the imagination you've got there. I leaned against his shoulder and dozed off, ignoring him completely. Maybe because of that conversation, I ended up dreaming of a scenario where I wanted to strangle Zhou Xian. The mountains were shrouded in mist when suddenly a downpour hit. Zhou Xian and I got separated, only for me to find him later embracing a woman whose soaked blouse turned nearly transparent. I was so mad it jolted me awake. Zhou Xian noticed my expression and touched my forehead. What's wrong? You cheated on me in my dream. Ha, guilty conscience much. Zhou Xian withdrew his hand with a cold smirk. What? My tiny face displayed massive confusion as Zhou Xian pulled up a photo from his phone, a confession wall post, the ultimate couple goals. One shot showed my classmate Chen Jin casually catching me as I stumbled. I gulped. That was totally accidental. Zhou Xian snorted coldly. We'll settle this later. Completely subdued, I didn't dare throw another tantrum about dream nonsense again. I obediently trailed behind him up the mountain. At the summit, while my classmates and I pitched tents, Zhou Xian's group was assigned to gather firewood in the woods. Then we went our separate ways. Slowly, scattered raindrops began to fall. The tent was barely up when the downpour came. It suddenly reminded me of that dream, like some premonition from the universe. Ignoring my classmates' protests, I dashed into the pouring rain. I found the pavilion from my memories. Zhou Xian was indeed holding that drenched girl, her clothes clinging transparently. Our eyes met, and I was overcome with shame. Zhou Xian abruptly pushed the girl away from his embrace and reached out to me. Luyu, come here. If not for coming to hear his explanation, why subject myself to such humiliation in this downpour? I stood my ground. You come here. I just wanted him to get soaked in the rain with me. Zhou Xian strode into the rain without hesitation, draping his jacket over my head before pulling me firmly under his arm. Let's settle this now so you won't think I'm bluffing. She was about to fall into the rain, so I caught her. Just as I was letting go, she grabbed my hand and started confessing. Then you showed up. Hey, back me up here. Zhou Xian shot the girl an irritated frown. The girl's face flushed crimson as she bobbed her head in frantic apology. I'm so sorry. And off they went, leaving us 2 drenched fools standing there in stunned silence. Did you come through this downpour because you were worried about me? Zhou Xian leaned down until his forehead touched mine, his long eyes curving into crescents. My ears burned slightly. Worrying about him cheating still counts as worrying, right? Zhou Xian probably mistook my behavior for shyness. He let out a carefree laugh before leaning in for a kiss, damp and clinging. You like me that much? Stop being narcissistic. It's obvious you're the one who's crazy about me, got caught in a downpour and, sure enough, came down with a glorious cold afterward. Zhou Xian was tough as nails, not a sniffle in sight, and even bought a mini pot to make me pear soup. How he managed to ruin something this simple is beyond me. I was eating while throwing up. Can't help but miss Zhou Xian 7 years later, the perfect husband and father. Even his boiled water tasted better than most. The thing is, some thoughts are better left unthought, especially after unlocking these chaotic superpowers. Dreamt of 26-year-old Zhou Xian cooking for me. Just as expected, when I returned to the dorm after afternoon classes, there stood 26-year-old Zhou Xian right in front of me. Zhou Xian, my mind went completely blank. Zhou Xian's thin lips curled slightly. You actually came, huh? Did you talk to him? Zhou Xian's expression darkened slightly when he saw me frozen in place instead of approaching him, somehow twisting our mutual affection into some messy love triangle. I quickly rushed over and grabbed his arm. Let's talk outside. It's not safe here on campus. Zhou Xian was like a bristling cat, just a few soothing strokes and he'd melt into docility, so he stayed silent and didn't resist, simply accompanying me as we left T University. So you're saying I accidentally touched that machine in your study and got my consciousness transported? That's not the point. Zhou Xian wrapped his arm around my waist, pursing his lips. Then tell me what is. Break up with him. He's literally you too. Stop acting like I'm cheating on you. Okay. Zhou Xian's expression darkened. The space-time won't stabilize for about a month before I can take you away. Do you really think I can stand watching you date someone else for a whole month? How could I ever break up with you when I'm looking at this face? I gazed at him with puppy dog eyes. Then I'll go talk to him. What's the difference? You don't treat him as yourself either. From his perspective, doesn't it just mean I cheated on him? Zhou Xian seemed incredulous, turning to stare at me with his thin lips pressed into a tight line. You feel sorry for him, while I'm the one wronged here. My mind was wound tight like a coiled spring. One wrong word and I'd be done for. It's always you I care about. Just give me some time, I'll make things clear with him. I took his hand and gently kissed his slender fingers. Zhou Xian's lashes fluttered slightly, but alas, my charm still failed to move him. 3 days, 3 days, 3 days is too short. How about a week? I was the one who pursued him, and now I'm supposedly dumping him. Ridiculous, as if I'd actually let go. I'm just pretending to comply while secretly keeping him. A month only has 4 weeks. Do you really think that's possible? After we leave in a month, time and space will erase all traces of you. He'll forget you. Everyone here will forget you. Only I won't, understand. Zhou Xian withdrew his hand from mine and tilted my chin up with just the right pressure. I nuzzled obediently against his palm and murmured, okay. He seems satisfied now. Zhou Xian showed up with nothing, no ID, no money. I rented him a studio near campus and transferred him some funds. My little canary, class is starting. I've got to go. Zhou Xian braced against the doorframe, pulling me into a one-armed embrace before kissing me. Still treating him like your lawful husband? No, I wouldn't dare. Dealing with Zhou Xian is more exhausting than running a marathon. I returned to school looking utterly drained, just in time to see young Zhou Xian playing basketball on the court. That carefree youthful energy becomes more precious with each passing glance. Leaning on the railing with a smile, this guy has zero sense of propriety, surrounded by all those girls. He shamelessly lifts his t-shirt to wipe sweat. Saw that Morse code sequence again, so strange. I distinctly remember Zhou Xian's waist being flawless and alluring 7 years later. Even if the tattoo was removed, there should have been some scarring left. An involuntary gasp escaped. The air was thick with hormones. I'm really annoyed, still staring. Come here. Zhou Xian released his shirt hem and beckoned me with a raised eyebrow. He's really something, acting so provocative knowing I'm watching. I squeezed onto the basketball court as Zhou Xian shot me a glance. Didn't you promise I'd never go thirsty or hungry again? Serves you right for being shameless. I gave his stomach a playful slap. Zhou Xian braced my shoulders and stepped back. Don't touch recklessly unless you're ready to take responsibility. Getting all coy with me now. Are we? Someone's jealous. My face turned pale, but Zhou Xian suddenly pinched my cheek. They all had their backs to me. Only you were facing this way. Only I saw it. Did he deliberately flash me on purpose? How dare he? Who'd want to see that? Your eyes haven't left me for a second, little sister. Zhou Xian pulled me along as we walked out. If you want something, just say it. Why play hard to get? I want your permission to have the grown-up version of you as my boyfriend, if that's even possible. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, with Zhou Xian staying completely out of sight near campus the entire time. It almost made me wonder if that day had just been my imagination. Zhou Xian had no classes today. So he came to keep me company during mine when suddenly a pop-up appeared on my phone. 3 days already, did you break up? That message made my blood run cold. The timing was robotic, exactly 3 days to the second. I quickly dismissed the notification and glanced at Zhou Xian beside me. His expression remained indifferent, as if he hadn't noticed. He spoke in a slightly hoarse voice, probably lowering it deliberately for class. What is it? Nothing, just admiring how handsome you are, I said with a sweet smile. Zhou Xian's expression still didn't change. Oh, really? His reaction seems off. Did he see something? WeChat just popped up another notification. Lu Yu, you'd better not be lying to me. I'm dead. Zhou Xian leaned in casually and asked, what's this? My brother, lover boy. Zhou Xian finally smirked, curling just one side of his lips in a wild, mocking grin. Blood brother. You're the only one who gets to be my lover, I said without batting an eye. Laying on the sweet talk, Zhou Xian's expression softened slightly as he let out a haughty humph. Bought some time for now. Both Zhou Xians are so sharp. How am I supposed to survive this month? Points, can't bear to let go. What a mess. 5. During the bathroom break between classes, I ducked into the women's restroom to call 26-year-old Zhou Xian. Just finished class. We broke up. After a pause, he replied, you're lying. My heart skipped a beat. You don't believe me? I do. I smiled contentedly. I've got class this afternoon. Freshman year keeps me busy, you know. How about dinner tonight? You could go explore on your own. Treat it like a mini vacation. Without you, everything's so dull. I don't even feel like going anywhere. Zhou Xian mumbled. And just like that, my sweet innocent boyfriend was back. After calming him down, I stepped outside only to find young Zhou Xian leaning against the wall, basking in the sun while scrolling through his phone. Having two lovers really isn't as enjoyable as people think. Little Zhou Xian remained in low spirits throughout lunch. It all came to a head when he showed up at my place that evening. What's up? Zhou Xian towered over me with his long legs and icy demeanor, his sidelong glance sending a slight chill down my spine. Why so grumpy? I'll make it up to you tomorrow. It's just one dinner. I already promised my roommate today. I laced my fingers through his and gave a gentle tug. He tightened his grip and chuckled, like I care. Go have fun without me. When I rushed to the apartment across from campus, Zhou Xian opened the door before I could knock, like we shared some psychic connection. What an incredible coincidence. Telepathy, yeah, was waiting for you. Zhou Xian smiled and stepped aside, carrying groceries inside. I said, let me cook for you. We'll eat at home. While part of me wanted to cook for him, I really didn't feel like going out. The difference between Zhou Xian now and 7 years later was striking. You'd never guess they were the same person at a glance. I'd hate to end up on the confession wall accused of two-timing. I'd just tied my apron when the knocking came. My gut screamed danger. I rushed to the door and peeked through the peephole. Sure enough, it was young Zhou Xian. His expression was terrifyingly cold. Seeing my reaction, Zhou Xian behind the door immediately guessed the situation. Open the door, Zhou Xian murmured, sliding an arm around my waist from behind with deliberate slowness, his tone laced with suppressed irritation. No way. What if you two get quantum entangled and experience decoherence? I'd lose my husband, I teased, deliberately calling him hubby to dodge the issue. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes. You really want to debate physics with me? Then let's not talk physics. How about we discuss human nature, or feelings? Or better yet, explain where you found the audacity to two-time us. If you hadn't kept doubting I'd abandon you when we were together, I wouldn't have needed to mess with him in the first place. I finally decided to turn the tables. Zhou Xian's slender brows furrowed slightly with confusion. Did I? Don't scare me like this. The hairs on my neck stood on end. I was genuinely terrified. It never crossed my mind to question why I'd traveled back 7 years, whether this was truly just an accident. Before I could ponder further, the knocking grew louder. Lu Yu, come out. Untying the apron, I calmed the pensive Zhou Xian with a glance before stepping out. Young Zhou Xian shot me a look, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Never thought I'd be catching someone red-handed one day. He just let you come out alone like this? I've started doubting this world. Why did Zhou Xian think I was trouble the moment we met? Why pretend you didn't like me when you clearly did from the start? How did my leg injury heal so unnaturally fast? Why do my thoughts materialize almost instantly, including that unfamiliar Morse code sequence? Even Zhou Xian couldn't explain the answer himself. Not talking, scared, or feeling guilty. Zhou Xian reached to tilt my chin up, forcing eye contact. The sound of the door lock turning behind me made me instinctively pull it shut. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes, protecting him, afraid I'll hit him. With that, he moved to push the door open. No, he's really my brother. Please believe me. I looked up at him pleadingly. Zhou Xian's Adam's apple bobbed as he replied in a hoarse voice. Lu Yu, do I look like an idiot to you? You really don't trust me. I clutched at the hem of his shirt. I can't let them meet now, even if seduction won't work. I'll have to try it anyway. We've got to eliminate all unpredictable variables. My whole worldview's crumbling. Who knows if meeting in person would trigger quantum decoherence like my bullshit theory suggested, making one of the Zhou Xians just vanish into thin air. His hand dropped limply as he cursed under his breath with palpable irritation. God damn it, I'm such a fucking masochist. With that, he yanked me along rather roughly. I'll trust you this once, try that again, Zhou Xian warned. His grip tightening around my wrist, a sudden pang of bitterness welled up in my heart. I couldn't help but throw myself into his arms. I knew what he offered wasn't trust, it was dignity. Zhou Xian kissed me with a desperate, possessive yet vulnerable intensity, crushing me against him as if trying to fuse our very bones. Don't leave me, his whisper at my ear scattered with the wind. I managed to stop Zhou Xian, but not the other one behind the door. Leaning against the stair rail with hands in pockets, his silver-rimmed glasses softened the razor-sharp intensity of his gaze. Zhou Xian froze completely when he saw him. You're using me as a substitute. His face turned deathly pale, even his thin lips losing all color. Seriously, masterclass in comprehension. I haven't explained yet. Zhou Xian spoke up coldly, with barely contained hostility. If you know how things stand, why aren't you leaving? What are you still hanging around for? He's quite the actor. My wrist ached from his grip, and as I instinctively tried to pull away, young Zhou Xian loosened his hold. If she really liked you, she wouldn't have come to me, let alone be standing by my side now. Now it was the other side's turn to go pale. Since he already knows, there's no point holding back. Come here. Zhou Xian stopped looking at his younger self, shifting the pressure onto me, with things still unclear. Zhou Xian actually understood the situation best. I should go with him, yet the person standing beside me was so fragile, so heartbreakingly young. It just makes people reluctant to see him bear too much. I'll head back to campus first, we'll talk later. Gritting my teeth, I blurted this out before dragging little Zhou Xian away. I ignored the unmistakable, burning gaze of abandonment behind me. Little Zhou Xian still got away with it thanks to his youth, after all. I'm 25 now, should have learned to care for the vulnerable. Zhou Xian stayed silent the whole way to campus, so I pulled him down to sit with me on Lover's Slope. Haven't had dinner yet. Zhou Xian braced his hands against the grass, expression turning icy. Did I starve you? Damn intense. Given Zhou Xian's temper, the fact that he's sitting here quietly already moves me deeply. Don't think I'm full of lies, but what I'm about to say is true. I cleared my throat and cupped his face. After what felt like an eternity, Zhou Xian finally found his voice. That's me. He seemed to despise becoming that refined but rotten type. Are you his girlfriend? I tugged at his hand. And yours too. Zhou Xian let out a derisive snort, but he didn't say anything more, nor did he show any doubt. Is he here to take you away? Zhou Xian mumbled with his head hung low. You'll be with me when you grow up, I said affectionately, ruffling his hair. My memory clearly recalls Zhou Xian being perpetually insecure, just like the person standing before me now, not the one outside. Why do you always put up a tough front when you first see me? Still convinced I'd cheat on you? Was I wrong to think that? Well, if you insist on putting it that way, I guess not. I pursed my lips. Give me a proper answer, and maybe I'll stay, keep you company for the next 7 years. Zhou Xian froze, his slender fingers gradually tightening. His thin lips pressed together before he finally forced out the words, seeing you makes my heart race. Then suddenly so sad I couldn't bear to face you. Sad, yeah, just feeling down. So what does your Morse code mean? Bring her home. Bring who home? Zhou Xian gazed at me quietly and shook his head. I don't know. His eyes were so bright that even the slightest sorrow stood out vividly. I fell silent. Could it be that the Zhou Xian before me didn't belong to me after all? What kind of world is this? When he said he was upset, my mood instantly soured too, leaving no room for petty jealousy. Zhou Xian walked me back to the dorm, then suddenly grabbed my wrist. Just go if you must. What? My eyes widened. You should return where you belong. It's only been 7 years, after all. Though he said only, his eyes were already glistening. 6. Zhou Xian never saw me again, even outside campus. Zhou Xian was throwing a little tantrum. I sat beside him. yet felt no urge to comfort him. When he first arrived, I'd felt such warmth and affection, but after that day, my feelings took on a strange new quality. Luyu, is admitting your changed heart so difficult? Zhou Xian loomed over me with icy detachment. He finally broke the silence. Is this really what comes out of my mouth? Have I changed my heart? Did I fall for the younger version of him? I wanted to protest. No, I didn't. Zhou Xian suddenly leaned in, pinning me down with a fierce glare. Liar. The corners of his eyes were slightly reddened, his gaze heavy with suppressed anguish. He stood too close, his presence overwhelmingly aggressive, yet it pierced my heart so sharply that I instinctively turned away. But it's still you. His grip slackened as Zhou Xian grew dazed. You've really fallen out of love. A sudden hollowness washed over me. This is someone I've been with for a long time. 7 years later, we were deeply in love. We what? Why can't I recall even a shred of sweetness? Not a single memory of those 7 years. I only know I love him, but can't find a reason why. I reached out to touch him, but he dodged. Even if he's my past self, I can't go back. I'm 26 now. Besides, he's not me. I was stunned. What? Zhou Xian exuded a heartbreaking air of despondency, his entire being radiating a pitiable. You were in a car accident and lost consciousness. I developed a machine to reactivate awareness. All of this is your imagination, trapping you in this mental world. I came to take you away, yet you fell for a projection of your own mind. So who is this person in reality? Your college sweetheart. His voice was ice cold, and so was my heart. Was any of this real? No wonder I can't remember anything about us 7 years later, and it didn't even feel strange, so none of it was real. My consciousness had been frozen long ago. You said something completely different when you first arrived. To fully synchronize with your consciousness, I'll have to sacrifice some memories. Even if I can't remember, I'll stay here with you. I couldn't hold back anymore. I threw my arms around him, tears streaming down his back. I'm sorry, I want to stay with you, but I need you to wake up more. Zhou Xian's voice was hoarse, barely recognizable. Yet his hand still moved gently across my back, soothing and tender. I shouldn't be stuck here. Since this is all just a world of consciousness, there are no rules left to follow. I need time to process these truths, spending my days basking in the apartment sunlight, no longer crossing to the school opposite. The reason I believed Zhou Xian's words so completely was this nagging feeling, like I'd already died once before. The sheer number of paradoxes left me no choice but to believe. The realization that this person meant to trap me made even the sunlight feel cold on my skin, rubbing my arms. Someone draped a coat over me. Feeling cold, I shook my head. Zhou Xian reached out to touch my head, but I instinctively dodged. His hand froze midair, his pale skin almost translucent in the sunlight. I'll go make dinner, I said, fleeing like a startled deer, left alone in the icy sunlight, consumed by guilt and unease. Zhou Xian, the boyfriend I adored beyond measure. My future husband, who spent untold time and effort developing a machine to save me, even risking his life to enter my consciousness and pull me out. Yet now, I no longer loved him. In the battle between him and that other man, the moment I realized my bias would last till death, I came to the profound understanding that all affection for this person had withered away. Sitting across from Zhou Xian, his dining mannerisms remained achingly familiar, sleeves casually rolled halfway. Every movement deliberate and refined, mirroring the cultured poise of our school days. How could this not be the same person? How could it all be an illusion? Yet something felt inexplicably off, plunging me into momentary disorientation. Just 2 more days and we can leave. If you want to break up, we can talk about it later, but nothing matters more than you waking up. Zhou Xian didn't look up, his tone deceptively calm, yet every word made me feel his pain. I couldn't bring myself to say I won't leave you, at least not like this, not to him, making him believe I'd stay out of pity rather than love. That would break him, crush his pride. My mental world remains incomplete where I haven't ventured. Leaving China would allow Zhou Xian to break the shackles and take me away. So on that day when spacetime stabilized, we rushed to the airport. The phone rang. It's Zhou Xian. He knew I was leaving today. We'd laid everything bare that night. He respected my decision completely, never reappeared, restraining himself so thoroughly that he felt vividly real. Someone I loved, not some fleeting illusion. Answer the call. Zhou Xian's pop-up notification flashed. I hesitated. Don't answer it. Zhou Xian beside me pressed down on my hand. Don't soften now. Let's go home, Luyu. I turned off the screen and nodded. Zhou Xian was using little Zhou Xian's ID card, as we were about to board. Young Zhou Xian, who somehow broke into the airport, was being chased by a group of security guards. Lu Yu, come back, he's lying to you. Young Zhou Xian rarely lost control like this, his face deathly pale, my heart twisted in pain. Your consciousness will do everything to keep you here, but it's time, let's go. Zhou Xian shot the younger version a grim look, suppressing his emotions as he comforted me. Turn around with the person beside me. No, Lu Yu, Lu Yu. Little Zhou Xian's voice sounded so pitiful behind me, each cry echoing like a lifetime. The next moment, I suddenly broke free from Zhou Xian and ran toward it, but he was already swallowed by the crowd, pushed through the boarding gate. Impossible, the one I love has always been him, from beginning to end. My heart won't change, there's no one else. The security guard finally caught up with little Zhou Xian. I ran over to his side too, pinned down by multiple people in complete disarray. He was nonetheless grinning from ear to ear. I leaned over, smiling at him. This man is Zhou Xian, the only one who matters, even if everything here is an illusion. So what? He's real, my beloved. I accompanied Zhou Xian through studies, watched him grow, and fell in love with him until our timelines converged 7 years later. The moment arrived to verify everything he'd claimed. I woke up, medical equipment covered my body, and Zhou Xian with his blue hair was slumped beside me. His silver-rimmed glasses set aside while his fingers held a consciousness stimulator. He slowly roused himself and smiled at me. Sleeping Beauty, you've been out for ages. So long that Zhou Xian had grown up, yet still dyed his hair blue, just so I'd recognize him. We were ready to get married right after graduation, but then I had that car accident. Zhou Xian spent 3 years building this machine, gambling everything against all warnings to brave the unknown dangers and wake me. But the machine developed its own consciousness, determined to keep me trapped inside as its eternal companion. Now fully adapted to this realm of consciousness, Zhou Xian remembered everything, his mission, all the memories, just as the machine's AI predicted, finally coming to claim the person he'd waited for so long. Just like that Morse code tattoo on his waist, if leaving was the right choice, he'd regret letting me go. If staying was better, he'd fight tooth and nail to keep me. Sweet epilogue. I've been bedridden too long, my legs forgot how to walk, practicing daily by leaning on chairs. Tired much, Zhou Xian lounged on the sofa, sucking a lollipop while giving me sympathetic puppy dog eyes, thinking I could slack off. I turned my pitiful gaze toward him, exhausted. Then call me hubby. He probably resented me calling the AI consciousness hubby. He found out while clearing the machine's memory and gave me passive-aggressive attitude for days. Hubby. My saccharine tone made even my own skin crawl. Good girl, not tired anymore. Let's keep going. Zhou Xian's brows relaxed, clearly pleased. What the hell do you mean? 5 more laps. I'd never agree to it, unless he gave me that threatening look. After all, Zhou Xian has 3 more years of life experience than me. I naturally think of him as being older and believe we should respect our elders, so I tend to defer to his opinions more. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the bed. Zhou Xian sat beside me and began massaging my shoulders. That tickles. Stop, I squirmed away from his touch. Don't provoke me. Zhou Xian pinned my shoulders down, preventing me from moving. What did I even do to you? You're the one who. My words were cut off by a sudden kiss. He chuckled by my ear. Just you talking, even breathing gets to me. Once you learn to walk properly, we're getting married. I nudged him. Stop feeding me empty promises. Just admit you're embarrassed by my walking. Zhou Xian arched an eyebrow. If you're fine with me carrying you down the aisle, we could do it tomorrow. I do. That eager to get married, he looked unbearably smug. When Zhou Xian showed up with a wedding dress the next day, I suspected this had been his plan all along. When he actually carried me away, I suddenly became self-conscious, ashamed of not being able to walk, of appearing imperfect. Maybe, are you out of your mind? Calling off my wedding, Zhou Xian pinched my cheek hard before sweeping me off my feet. A bride who can't walk at 25, that's badass, babe. He kissed the tip of my nose, still teasing me. As the door opened, the warm and joyful atmosphere instantly embraced me. Alright, that's pretty cool. Made solemn vows before the priest, Zhou Xian used my health as an excuse to shoo away everyone interrupting our private time. Tired, Zhou Xian bent down to smooth my hair, skipping the usual banter. I grinned. Hubby. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes. I'm worried about you, yet you're asking for trouble. I'm exhausted. Too late. The night was pitch black, with complete silence blanketing everything. Zhou Xian held me close, his voice chilling and slightly trembling. Back then, I was truly terrified you'd leave with him. Never been so terrified in my life. Just when I finally get to see you, it feels like everything's about to fall apart. I lifted myself halfway and pressed my lips to his. It won't. You should have known from that first walk together at the apartment entrance. Liu would never leave Zhou Xian. The entire basketball court had their eyes on us, and the atmosphere instantly ignited. I thought something unmentionable was bound to happen this time, yet once again he held back. Go to sleep, I may not walk, but I'm still full of life. Seriously, are you incapable or what? Don't you dare marry me under false pretenses. Zhou Xian seemed to read my expression, covering my eyes with his hand. Liu, you'd better not be ungrateful. Unless you want your remaining days to be miserable, I think you should distribute things more evenly, I suggested earnestly, batting my eyelashes. His response was a cold sneer. Fuck, the blanket was pulled up. Well, that was ungrateful of me. Story 2, my childhood friend, who had always loved to stick by my side, suddenly couldn't hide his disgust for me. He unilaterally cancelled our engagement, took away the poor student I had sponsored, and doted on her by his side. Everyone around thought he was crazy, but only I knew that he had been reborn. The subtitles above his head kept scrolling. The first thing the male lead does after being reborn is, of course, to keep our delicate female lead by his side. Of course, the male lead will become the richest man in the future, reborn 10 years earlier in this life. He can achieve even greater things. I just smiled. Without the support of my family's marriage alliance, even if my childhood friend was reborn as an embryo, he was destined to fail in this life. The moment I took the initiative to reach out my hand to Lin Xingwei, his eyes changed. They went from shocked and delighted to tired and disgusted. Lin Xingwei pushed me away violently, his words as cold as ice. Miss Xian, please stop throwing yourself at me. I don't like you. The onlookers gasped. Because everyone knew that it was Lin Xingwei who had always clung to me. We had been engaged since childhood and were true childhood sweethearts. Lin Xingwei had vowed to marry me. Even when I was about to study abroad, he didn't hesitate and was willing to wait for me to return. But now, why had everything changed? Lin Xingwei looked at me coldly and said with his thin lips, by the way, give Wanner to me. I'll take good care of her. Feng Wanner was the poor student I sponsored. It was only because of my financial support that she had the opportunity to study at an elite school. I asked her, are you sure? Lin Xingwei frowned, his eyes contemptuous. Whether you agree or not, I will take Wanner away. She is kind and innocent and must not be tainted by the smell of money from your Xian family. I laughed. Was it possible that Lin Xingwei thought he was pure and noble, when in fact he was the one who had benefited the most from my family, too? Lin Xingwei accurately found Feng Wanner in the crowd and grabbed her wrist. Wanner, come with me. As long as I'm here, no one will dare to bully you. The subtitles above his head kept scrolling. I'm so into this. The first thing the male lead does after being reborn is, of course, to keep our delicate female lead by his side. Of course, the male lead will be the richest man in the future, reborn 15 years earlier in this life. He can achieve even greater things. As the subtitles scrolled, I suddenly understood. It turned out that I was the vicious supporting female character, arrogant, overbearing, but rich. My parents had already paved the way for the rest of my life. All I had to do was go to school, get married, and inherit the family business step by step, and I could easily reach the peak of my life. Since my life was too smooth and I was bored, I picked a few children of debtors to study with me. I waived their tuition and living expenses as a kind act. Feng Wanner was one of them. Because she somewhat resembled me in appearance, I favored her especially and transferred her to the class where Lin Xingwei and I were. Later, I went abroad to study. Lin Xingwei, feeling lonely, actually found Feng Wanner to be his substitute. While I was studying abroad, the two of them had a dramatic love affair. Lin Xingwei, who didn't even want to buy a plane ticket, missed me while passionately having a relationship with Feng Wanner. When I returned home, Lin Xingwei abruptly abandoned Feng Wanner, but at our wedding, he suddenly realized that Feng Wanner was the woman he loved most in his life. Lin Xingwei endured hardships and finally became the richest man 5 years after our marriage, planning to rekindle his relationship with Feng Wanner. However, he didn't expect that she had died of liver cancer 2 years earlier. Their love-hate story became an eternal legend. Fortunately, Lin Xingwei was reborn. This time, he followed his heart, resolutely dumped me, and planned to be with Feng Wanner. What passionate and sincere love. I believe in love again. The supporting female character looks so awkward. She's been slapped in the face by both the male and female leads. I almost feel sorry for her. This teaches us a lesson. Money isn't everything. It can't buy love or true feelings. I smiled. Although money couldn't buy love or true feelings, it could buy the opportunity to destroy love and shatter true feelings. I looked at Feng Wanner and beckoned. What will you choose? Feng Wanner bit her lip, looking indecisive. After all, Lin Xingwei was handsome and was recognized as the campus heartthrob by the girls at school. She couldn't help but feel a secret joy at receiving Lin Xingwei's exclusive favor. Feng Wanner hesitated. I immediately understood her choice and smiled. Okay, I respect your decision. Feng Wanner's face lit up. I continued, pay me back the tuition and living expenses for the past 3 years, and we'll be even. Feng Wanner's face instantly turned pale. The tuition at an elite school cost hundreds of thousands of yuan a year. Moreover, she had always tried to match my standard of living in terms of food, clothing, and daily expenses, which also cost 6 figures a year. Asking Feng Wanner to pay such a large sum of money at once was like a pipe dream. Seeing this, Lin Xingwei stepped forward. He spoke in a domineering president-like manner. Wanner, don't worry, I'll pay this money for you. Feng Wanner's eyes sparkled with admiration, and she said shyly, Master Lin, you're so kind, but I shattered their dreams mercilessly. Lin Xingwei said impatiently, what do you want? I've made it very clear, I don't like you. Please stop pestering me. I put my finger to my lips. I almost forgot about you. When are you going to pay back the tuition you owe? 3. The subtitles exploded. The supporting female character is so despicable. She's trying to break up this poor couple with money. Wasn't the male lead a good match for the supporting female character? Why can't he afford this small amount of money? The Lin family is only superficially prosperous. All their money has been squandered by his philandering father. They were right. A family that could marry into the Xian family was naturally not an ordinary one. Grandpa Lin and my grandpa had been comrades in arms for decades. The old men had a deep friendship, which was why they arranged a betrothal between Lin Xingwei and me when we were children. But since Grandpa Lin passed away 10 years ago, the Lin family had been declining. Lin Xingwei's parents were constantly having affairs and had countless illegitimate children. The collateral branches of the family fought for power, creating a chaotic and messy situation at home. In such circumstances, Lin Xingwei's life was not prosperous. He looked glamorous on the surface, but in fact, he was worse off than an ordinary well-off family. It was me who begged my parents not to cancel the engagement. I also begged my uncle, who was a school board member, to waive Lin Xingwei's tuition. Lin Xingwei knew very well about my efforts. Due to his so-called masculine pride, he never thanked me. Instead of being grateful, he accused me of throwing myself at him. He didn't realize that without the support of my family's marriage alliance, even if Lin Xingwei was reborn as an embryo, he was destined to fail in this life. I simply laid my cards on the table and held out my hand right in front of his eyes. What are you waiting for? Pay up. Beads of sweat rolled down Lin Xingwei's forehead. Not knowing the difficult situation of the Lin family, Feng Wanner fanned the flames beside him. Miss, why be so aggressive? Master Lin will pay you every penny. Just wait. The subtitles scrolled. Yes, when husband and wife work together, they can overcome anything, as long as the male and female leads work hard together. Becoming the richest people in the world is just around the corner, then the supporting female character will regret it. But it will be too late. Lin Xingwei, as if he had seen the words on the subtitles or thought of his success in the previous life, puffed out his chest and said righteously, I knew you were money-grubbing, but I didn't expect you to be so materialistic. Don't worry, I'll pay off all the debts. From now on, we're done, and there will be no more interaction between us. As sonorous and forceful as his words were, his figure was just as embarrassed when he rolled out of the school with a snake skin bag on his back, sitting on a tricycle. Feng Wanner's white dress was stained with dust, and she looked panicked. Master Lin, are we really going to drop out of school? Lin Xingwei took her hand and smiled. Wanner, don't be afraid, I've already found a new school. As long as we can be together, what do we have to fear? Even if there are mountains of knives and seas of fire ahead, Feng Wanner forced a smile. Before the Feng family went bankrupt, she was a little princess doted on by everyone. Even after the bankruptcy, she didn't suffer much because of my sponsorship. She had thought that getting close to Lin Xingwei would allow her to cross social classes, but she didn't expect a big gap between her ideals and reality. While they were talking, the driver took me to the school gate. I gracefully got out of the car, followed by 2 students, a boy and a girl. One carried my bag, and the other opened the door for me. When Lin Xingwei saw this scene, he wore a determined expression. He said to Feng Wanner, Xian Han is coming for me. if she means no good, you run away, she won't dare to do anything to me. Feng Wanner clutched the hem of her skirt and nodded. Lin Xingwei took a deep breath, as if going to his death. Xian Han, stop pestering me. I won't give in. Give up your idea. I stopped, not even glancing at him. Where are the security guards? Throw out the irrelevant people. A security guard rushed over and pushed Lin Xingwei out of the school gate. I walked into the school leisurely, not looking back once. The subtitles were filled with arguments. What's going on? Shouldn't the supporting female character cry, make a scene, and threaten to commit suicide to keep the male lead? Don't worry, the supporting female character is playing hard to get. I don't believe she can give up the 18-year friendship. Despite her show of power now, her heart must be bleeding. I sneered. Lin Xingwei and I had been childhood friends for 18 years, plus 5 years of married life in the previous life. He still broke things off without hesitation, so what was there for me to miss? Goodbye is goodbye, the next one will be even better. 4. Feng Wanner looked at Lin Xingwei, then at me, and finally couldn't help but say, Miss, actually I. Lin Xingwei interrupted her angrily. Wanner, you don't need to beg her. Lin Xingwei, am a man of my word and will never bow down to a woman. After saying that, Lin Xingwei handed a 10 yuan bill to the rickshaw driver, telling him to hurry up. Feng Wanner hesitated. The idea of crossing social classes through marriage prevailed, and she obediently crouched in the back seat of the tricycle. The two of them disappeared into the distant horizon. Seeing this, the poor male and female students behind me moved closer, afraid that I would change my mind and stop Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner. They had finally got the chance to serve me closely and enjoy more resources of the upper class. How could they be willing to give it up? The subtitles remained in front of my eyes. In this modern society, the supporting female character still acts like a feudal remnant. It's really unbearable. No wonder the male lead left her. She's too overbearing. Who would like her? When the male lead becomes successful, don't blame him for hiring the supporting female character to clean toilets. Just thinking of that scene makes me want to laugh. My eyes darkened. Hire me to clean toilets. I'd rather pull Lin Xingwei's head off and throw it into the toilet. There was plenty of time ahead. I wanted to see what he was capable of and if he could ride roughshod over me. 5. After transferring to a public school, Lin Xingwei tried to save up startup capital by tutoring. I made a call to the mayor's hotline and reported him for illegal teaching. Lin Xingwei wanted to get rich by buying lottery tickets. I bought all the lottery tickets before him and even won several million yuan. Whatever Lin Xingwei tried to do, I sabotaged. The subtitles were so angry that they started cursing. The male lead has achieved nothing. Can he really give the female lead a happy life? The supporting female character is terrifying. She'll do anything to get the male lead back. This is a twisted kind of love. The subtitles were talking nonsense, but Lin Xingwei believed them. He asked me to meet him at a restaurant near the school gate. His eyes were full of contempt when he looked at me. Xian Han, have you had enough? I crossed my arms, keeping a distance from him. What do you mean? Stop pretending. Lin Xingwei snorted. Don't think I don't know what you've been up to behind my back. You've used every trick in the book to force me back to you, but my heart belongs to Wanner, and I will never give in because of your measly money. As he spoke, saliva flew out of his mouth and landed in the greasy cup. I felt nauseous. Don't flatter yourself. If you hadn't told me you'd pay back the money, do you think I'd want to see you? Lin Xingwei wouldn't let it go. Humph, duplicity. If you don't like me, why are you targeting me everywhere? Anyone with sense knows the reason. I was so angry that I laughed. If someone slapped Lin Xingwei twice, he'd probably think they were into SM. The reason I targeted Lin Xingwei was to nip the risks in the bud. Without the support of my family, the probability of Lin Xingwei becoming the richest man was only 1 in a million. But even with such a slim chance, I would never let him grow unchecked. Since ancient times, the business world has been like a battlefield. Those who can't be ruthless will be eliminated by the times. Lin Xingwei thought I was trapped in petty love, but he didn't know that my vision had extended to the future. In fact, it was he himself who couldn't get out of this past relationship. 6. I was too lazy to argue with Lin Xingwei and picked up my bag to leave. Lin Xingwei hurriedly blocked my way. You haven't promised to stay out of my life. You can't leave. He even grabbed my wrist. Bang! Before I could react, Lin Xingwei flew out and crashed into a large number of tables and chairs in the restaurant. Wei Huai, the poor student I sponsored, appeared. He had been waiting outside. He came in to check when he heard the commotion inside. He couldn't hold back and kicked Lin Xingwei when he saw him getting handsy with me. Wei Huai walked up to me, carefully holding my hand. There was no stupid love in his eyes, only a craving for money. "Miss, are you okay?" I shook my head and said to the stunned restaurant manager, "Tell me the amount of the damage, I'll pay for it." The manager came to his senses and quickly started calculating the losses. Lin Xingwei lay on the floor, covered in soup, his cheap clothes were torn, and soup was dripping from his hair, making him look extremely confounded. As he struggled to get up, his eyes were bloodshot. "You poor bastard, how dare you hit me? Do you want to die?" Unlike Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner, who were from fallen aristocratic families, Wei Huai was a genuine poor student. He relied on government subsidies even for his compulsory education. My father, recognizing his talent, saw his name on the honor roll of the high school entrance examination and generously took care of his living expenses and tuition, only asking him to tutor me in my studies. However, I didn't like studying and usually ignored Wei Huai as if he were air. Lin Xingwei knew about his existence but never took him seriously. Now, though, Wei Huai had suddenly become my right-hand man, and Lin Xingwei finally panicked. "Xian Han, even if you want to make me turn back, there's no need to find some random guy to provoke me, right? The way you're throwing yourself at him so cheaply just makes me feel disgusted." I stopped in my tracks and glanced at Wei Huai, understanding my signal. He landed a left hook that sent Lin Xingwei crashing to the ground. The chili oil and vinegar on the dining table spilled all over him, and he reeked of the strong smell. Physics-level jealousy. "What's going on?" "I came here to watch the growth of a domineering CEO and campus romance, not to see the male lead getting bullied." "Did the male lead get the wrong script? Take a left turn and go to the male-oriented novels, follow the breaking the engagement and cultivation storyline. It's the female supporting character who's supposed to be the one with the broken engagement. Okay, doesn't she like the male lead? Why isn't she chasing after him to make amends instead of sending her fiancé to his doom?" The bullet comments finally caught on. My disgust for Lin Xingwei didn't seem like an act. Words could deceive, and expressions could be faked, but the force of a real punch couldn't be simulated. That was a brutal beating. If I had even the slightest bit of affection for Lin Xingwei, I would never have allowed Wei Huai to mistreat him. The bullet commenters didn't know that out of our long-time friendship as childhood neighbors, I once had high hopes for him. Since he held the title of my fiancé, he shouldn't be an uneducated and incompetent man, so I paid for Lin Xingwei's schooling, subsidized his living expenses, and tried to enhance his reputation, so that he wouldn't lower my status when standing beside me. But he was greedy, ungrateful, and even turned against me. Then he shouldn't blame me for using some underhanded methods to deal with this so-called high-class person. 7. From that day on, Lin Xingwei became more subdued. The bullet comments daily reported on his love life with Feng Wanner, and it was clear that they weren't living a happy life. The female lead has to work at a convenience store after evening self-study. She's so hard-working. The male lead stays in the rental house every day waiting for the female lead to come home and cook. Can't he do some housework? Come on, the male lead is going to be the world's richest man. How could he do such menial chores? Besides, as long as there's love, the female lead will be touched. It's the female lead's birthday next week. I wonder what gift he'll prepare. I remember that in the previous life, the female lead received a Cartier bracelet as a gift. At that time, she wasn't even the male lead's girlfriend yet. She's surely going to get an even more expensive gift this time. The bullet comments fantasized about the bright future of Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner, but I scoffed. If I remembered correctly, it was my money that Lin Xingwei used to buy the gift in his previous life. It's easy to be generous when spending others' money. Would he still be so lavish when he had to pay out of his own pocket? On the weekend, I took Wei Huai and another underprivileged student, Tan Ku, shopping at the mall. The salesgirls greeted us with smiles and enthusiastically introduced the latest seasonal products. I looked around and pointed. "I want everything over there and here. Wrap them up and send them to my place." Wei Huai and Tan Ku were used to my extravagance and stood by, waiting for my orders. Just as I was resting on the sofa, a commotion suddenly reached my ears. "Wanner, today is your birthday, and I want to give you a special gift." It was Lin Xingwei's voice. He had actually come to the luxury store too. Feng Wanner was extremely delighted, and her face beamed like a blooming flower. "I knew you wouldn't let me down. I understand that these days were your test for me. Don't worry, whether we're poor or rich, I'll always be by your side." The bullet comments went wild. "This is true love. They're indeed my top-ranked couple. They must be happy forever." The female supporting character must be grinding her teeth in jealousy. So what if she's rich? She'll never have love as sincere as the female leads. Lin Xingwei looked at Feng Wanner with affection and gently stroked her hair. The store clerk quickly approached. Welcome, sir and madam, what can I do for you? Feng Wanner blurted out. Show me the most expensive. Lin Xingwei interrupted her and said to the clerk, can I have a rose from the bouquet at the door? The clerk, not understanding, nodded. Lin Xingwei plucked a rose from the bouquet at the door and handed it to Feng Wanner. Happy birthday, Wanner. 8. The rose looked withered, its petals dry and yellow. Compared with the luxurious interior of the store, it was rather shabby. Feng Wanner's smile froze on her face. Xingwei, are you kidding me? What she wanted as a birthday gift was luxury items and the envious glances of others, not a random, wilted rose. Lin Xingwei remained calm and pinned the rose behind his girlfriend's ear. This is your birthday gift. Don't you like it? She didn't just dislike it. Feng Wanner was furious. She snatched the rose from behind her ear and threw it on the ground. Are you crazy? Who wants this lousy rose? Do you think I'm a beggar? Lin Xingwei frowned slightly. It's still my heartfelt gift. If you don't like it, that's fine. But why humiliate me? If I had known you were such a gold digger, I wouldn't have been with you. Feng Wanner sneered and shook off Lin Xingwei's hand. Me, a gold digger? How noble are you? I've been working to pay for the rent and living expenses. What have you contributed? Lin Xingwei sighed. One should have long-term vision. When I'm rich, I can give you anything you want. Feng Wanner laughed angrily. Bah, still making empty promises. I'm not a fool. I'd rather go back to the Xian family and serve Xian Han than be your free maid. Her words hit hard. Lin Xingwei seemed deeply insulted, his eyes turning red. Me? Having you as my maid? I'm the one who's been struggling to support you. I go to class during the day and work hard at my part-time job at night, all for our future. Do you know whose love you're receiving? It's the love of the future world's richest man. I couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Lin Xingwei spun around as if electrocuted, his face turning extremely pale. Feng Wanner flinched, her arrogance vanishing. Miss Xian. She seemed eager to rush over and pour out her grievances about these tough days. However, Wei Huai and Tan Ke weren't about to let their cash cow go. They firmly stood in front of me and blocked Feng Wanner. She cursed. Get out of my way, you poor wretches. How dare you act so high and mighty in front of me? I'll make you pay when I get back to the Xian family. Wei Huai and Tan Ke remained expressionless. They knew very well who was in charge of the Xian family. Feng Wanner was like a dog that had bitten its master, then gone out, suffered, and now wanted to come back to its master for food. Unfortunately, there's no turning back from mistakes. The moment she betrayed me, she should have known there was no going back. Lin Xingwei reacted much more calmly, ignoring the hysterical Feng Wanner. He gave a bitter smile. Xian Han, this is your scheme, isn't it? Congratulations, you've won. You've defeated me with money. You can have my body, but the price is that you'll never have my heart. Let's go. I'm willing to fulfill our engagement. With that, he closed his eyes, looking resigned to his fate. Facing this so-called touching scene, I turned to Tan Ke. How much does pig heart cost per caddy? Tan Ke was taken aback and hesitated. About 10 odd yuan per caddy at the wet market, I think. I nodded. Go buy 10 caddies and give them to Lin Xingwei. If there are pig brains available, get a few caddies too. He could use the brain supplement. Ha 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 ha. The female supporting character's words are too harsh, they're self-destructively sarcastic. I'm now sure the female supporting character really has fallen out of love. The male lead and female lead should just get together. Lin Xingwei stared in disbelief, and the rose in his hand dropped to the ground. I turned and left, with Feng Wanner's cries echoing behind me. Without the support of money, this relationship shed its naivete and shattered its illusions, leaving them nothing but a mess. 9. Life got back on track. I was busy with school, exams, and preparing my portfolio to apply for overseas universities, gradually forgetting about Lin Xingwei. But while I had moved on, my parents hadn't. They stormed over to the Lin family demanding an explanation, and when they got home, they started looking for a new marriage partner for me. I firmly refused. I haven't achieved anything in my career yet. How can I think about starting a family, mom and 9. Life got back on track. I was busy with school, exams, and preparing my portfolio to apply for overseas universities, gradually forgetting about Lin Xingwei. But while I had moved on, my parents hadn't. They stormed over to the Lin family demanding an explanation, and when they got home, they started looking for a new marriage partner for me. I firmly refused. I haven't achieved anything in my career yet. How can I think about starting a family, mom and dad? Stop pushing me. It's not too late to find someone after I graduate. My parents couldn't persuade me and had to give in. Before I left, they held a banquet for me, inviting young talents of my age and social status. If I took a liking to someone, that person could become my fiancé. If not, we'd wait until after I graduated. I reluctantly agreed. On the day of the banquet, I dressed up extravagantly and mingled among the elders, winning countless compliments. As if by mutual agreement, no one mentioned Lin Xingwei's name. He was like a forgotten ripple, disappearing beneath the turbulent waves of high society. After a few drinks, I accepted an invitation from a young man to dance. My parents watched us with loving eyes, looking very pleased. The music flowed like water until a harsh voice cut through the air. Xian Han, you're my fiancé. Yet you're dancing with someone else. Do you still have me, your fiancé? In your eyes, Lin Xingwei suddenly appeared out of nowhere, his eyes sharp and his aura gloomy, but paired with his cheap synthetic fiber clothes, he didn't look like the brooding, domineering CEO from novels. Instead, he resembled a stalker on the street. Everyone was shocked by this unexpected turn of events and started whispering among themselves. Standing on the stairs and looking down at the crowd, Lin Xingwei said in a hoarse voice, "This game should end now, Xian Han. If you come with me to register our marriage now, I'll forgive your mistake." Even the most good-natured person would be enraged by such words, and I was never known for my good temper. Dark anger welled up in my eyes, and I remained silent. Wei Huai, quick to notice, stepped in to defuse the situation. How did this uninvited person get in? Security, escort him out. Lin Xingwei flew into a rage. Who do you think you are to talk to me? Once I marry Xian Han, the first thing I'll do is kick you out of the Xian family. Just because she dotes on you doesn't mean you're special. Go back to your slum. You'll never be able to cross into our upper-class world. Many of the guests had risen from humble beginnings, and they turned livid upon hearing these words. The male lead is being too arrogant. Does he think he's so noble? A fallen phoenix is worse than a chicken. He doesn't even understand such a simple truth. The male lead just wants to feel superior. But he doesn't realize he's the clown. The bullet comments saw through Lin Xingwei's true nature. When someone is in a high position, thoughtless words can be glossed over as signs of informality, but when someone is in a low position, presumptuously giving orders can be a fatal mistake. Without my intervention, others were more than happy to teach him a lesson. The security guards grabbed Lin Xingwei's arms and dragged him towards the door. Lin Xingwei shuddered, his pupils dilated, and he suddenly broke free. "Let go of me. I'm the son-in-law of the Xian family. Don't you dare touch me. Xian Han, don't you love me the most? Come and say something for me." I waved my hand, and the security guards released his arms. He collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath like a dog that had been whipped, but with a triumphant smile on his face. "I knew you couldn't bear to part with me." I walked gracefully towards Lin Xingwei in my high-heeled boots. "Indeed, there's something about you that I can't let go of." 10. Hope flickered in Lin Xingwei's eyes. I held out my hand. "Pay back the money you owe me." Over the years, I had invested hundreds of thousands of yuan in Lin Xingwei. Originally, I didn't care about this money and thought of it as money thrown away, but Lin Xingwei's repeated provocations had infuriated me. Since he didn't want to live a peaceful life and insisted on getting into huge debt, I'd make sure he did. Lin Xingwei's heart shattered. "Xian Han, you wouldn't be this heartless, right?" I smiled slightly. "Sorry, but I am. I'll send the bill to the Lin family. Make sure to check it." Lin Xingwei was kicked out of the Xian family, filled with regret. Why had he given up on me, the heir of a wealthy family, for a vain, poor student? But Lin Xingwei didn't have time to dwell on it. The heavy burden of life came crashing down on him. His father suddenly had a stroke and died in his mistress's bed. A disgraceful end. His mother ran away with the money, the final straw that broke the camel's back. Creditors came knocking, claiming that his father had owed a mountain of high-interest loans and that as the son, Lin Xingwei had to pay back 1,000,000 yuan within the specified time limit. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lin Xingwei bought a bus ticket and tried to flee that very night, but before the bus could leave, he was dragged off by debt collectors, thrown into a dark room, and severely beaten. I learned all this from Wei Huai. He stayed in the country to attend university, and my parents planned to train him to be my capable assistant. Wei Huai said, "Lin Xingwei is now desperate. He goes to the Xian group every day to block the entrance, demanding that you marry him with your dowry. Otherwise, he threatens to." He paused, then continued, "Otherwise, he'll reveal the company's secrets." I raised an eyebrow. "Indeed, as my husband for 5 years in his previous life." Lin Xingwei knew some of the company's secrets. Since his emotional tactics hadn't worked, he was now resorting to blackmail. He was dreaming. I called the police without hesitation. The Xian family is a major taxpayer in the local area, providing countless job opportunities. It's not something that Lin Xingwei can easily bring down with just a few words. With a series of operations on my part, he finally ended up in prison on the charge of extortion. As for Feng Wanner, I happened to meet her abroad. She was following a pot-bellied man with a forced smile on her face, wearing heavy and gaudy makeup. She no longer had the fresh and charming appearance of the past. When Feng Wanner saw me shopping with Tan Ku, trying to hide her embarrassment, she said to the man cautiously, "Honey, I'm not feeling well. Let's go back early." The man cursed and turned away. Feng Wanner, in her high heels, clattered after him. Tan Ku asked me, "Miss, do you want to stop her?" I shook my head. Whether it's Lin Xingwei or Feng Wanner, they are just passers-by in my life. They have faded out of my world and can no longer stir up the slightest trouble. That's it. Extra chapter. Lin Xingwei. 1. For me, life is just an easy game. My fiancée is the highly praised young lady of the Xian family, from an illustrious family, elegant and generous, and I myself have managed to turn the tide, bringing the dying Lin Corporation back from the brink of bankruptcy. I have become a success in the eyes of the world, but I'm not satisfied with this. Success came too easily, leaving my heart feeling a bit empty. Just then, Feng Wanner appeared in my world. She was melancholy and broken, silently following behind Xian Han, enduring the orders of this young lady. My heart was struck. Later, when Xian Han went abroad, I naturally got together with Feng Wanner. I loved her purity but hated her plainness. I betrayed Xian Han, yet I didn't think I was being too excessive. I told myself that Feng Wanner was just a substitute for Xian Han. When the real one came back from abroad, I would just give Feng Wanner a sum of money and send her away far. Despite all my calculations, I failed to predict my own heart. I fell in love with Wanner. She was different from Xian Han. At a young age, she had witnessed great ups and downs, yet she remained calm in the face of adversity. I thought such a life could go on forever, but the good times didn't last long. When Xian Han graduated and returned home, Wanner died of liver cancer. My life lost its color. Even though Xian Han helped me manage the company's affairs and assisted me in becoming the world's richest man, I still didn't treat her well, since Wanner was dead. What was the use of all the money to me? Fortunately, God gave me a chance to start over. I was reborn on the day I confessed to Xian Han. Facing her outstretched hand, I pushed her away without thinking and turned to embrace Wanner. Wanner's cheeks were flushed, more beautiful than a delicate rose. The bullet comments were also cheering for my performance. In this life, I will follow my heart and never let myself be wronged again. 2. But the development of the situation was beyond my imagination. I thought Xian Han would cry and beg me not to leave, so that I could humiliate her severely and avenge Wanner from the previous life. Unexpectedly, she didn't spare me an extra glance but directly asked for the money. What a joke. Money. I had plenty of it. I reached into my pocket, intending to take out my black card and throw it in Xian Han's face, but I only touched a campus card, which was actually handled for me by Xian Han. I belatedly realized that I was only 18 years old at this time and had not yet become the world-famous richest man, but it doesn't matter. Don't look down on a young man because of his poverty. Given time, I will surely wash away today's humiliation. I'll just owe Xian Han the money for now and deal with it later. 3. A gentleman can endure poverty and will not bow down for a small amount of money. I want to drop out of school. The extravagant atmosphere of a noble school makes me feel sick. It's definitely not because I can't afford the tuition fees and have been isolated by my classmates. As soon as I made up my mind, I planned to take Wanner and drop out of school together, and transfer to a public school with the lowest expenses. However, Wanner seemed a bit reluctant. I patted my chest and promised, as long as I'm here, I will never let you be wronged, even if there is some temporary grievance. I believe that the future is promising. Reluctantly, Wanner got on the tricycle I hired. With a resentful expression, I suddenly remembered that there was still 2,000 yuan left on my meal card. Why not sell it to my classmates and make a little profit? Wanner waited for me in the cold wind, shivering from the cold. When I was ready to leave after handling all the matters, Xian Han arrived at the school gate gracefully in a private car. The license plate number from Beijing had 5 8s. In the previous life, it was clearly my vehicle. I swallowed my resentment and watched coldly. Even if Xian Han gave me the car on the spot, I would never become the son-in-law of the Xian family. Surprisingly, Xian Han didn't show the slightest sign of trying to keep me. On the contrary, there were two new attendants following behind her. They were more handsome and beautiful than me and Warner. My anger flared up. But my self-restraint was good enough that I didn't question Xian Han's intentions. What a clever move of retreating to advance. Humph. Women, Xian Han cast a puzzled look at me. I proudly puffed out my chest, but what I heard was her order to have me thrown out. This wasn't right. Without time to think further, I angrily jumped onto the tricycle. A woman who turns from love to hate is really terrifying. There's no way. My charm is just that great. But charm can't be used as food. After transferring to the public school, I still had to worry about my livelihood. Xian Han launched a fierce pursuit of me, trying to force me to give in. Even if I starved to death, I wouldn't separate from Warner. But Warner's resentment grew stronger and stronger. She was no longer as delicate and sensitive as in the previous life, but instead was hysterical like a shrew. Firewood, rice, oil, salt, electricity bills, and water bills became the unchanging topics in her mouth. Looking at Feng Warner's face, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Was this still the woman who talked about romantic things with me and obeyed me in everything? Feeling disappointed, I couldn't help but contact Xian Han. Maybe by looking at her face, I could rekindle my love for Warner. Xian Han was still as elegant as ever. She glanced at me indifferently, showing neither joy nor sorrow. A strange sense of satisfaction welled up in me. It seemed that Xian Han still loved me. Otherwise, why would she come to the appointment? Before I could say a few words, Xian Han shyly ran away. How could I let her go? I reached out to hold her wrist just like in the previous life, but before I could touch that softness, Wei Huai rushed in front of me and kicked me away. I was enraged. For a moment, Xian Han was actually having an affair with a poor guy. Where did she put the face of me? Her fiancé. Men have their pride. Xian Han had gone too far. I wouldn't forgive her. Before I could utter my harsh words, Xian Han turned and left. She must not want me to see her tears, right? Well, it's not impossible to forgive her. I returned to the rental house with a bruised face. Seeing this, Feng Warner had a big argument with me again. The meal was cold, and there was no food in the pot. I was extremely tired and just wanted to lie lazily on the bed and rest. Suddenly, an idea popped into my head. In fact, it wouldn't be bad to make up with Xian Han. At least the servants in her house were sensible and could take good care of me. Later, it was Feng Warner's birthday. I kindly took her to a luxury store to see the world and gave her a romantic rose. Unexpectedly, Feng Warner had a fit on the spot and said she might as well go back to the Xian family and be a servant. I was angry. Being a servant for Xian Han could indeed bring generous rewards, but could she get a love that could move heaven and earth? When did Feng Warner become so vulgar? There was a snort of laughter from the corner. I looked closely and saw Xian Han laughing freely. She must think that I had broken up with Feng Warner. I was disheartened. Even though I'm a genius, I still can't escape Xian Han's clutches after all. Forget it. I admit defeat. I will live a good life with Xian Han in the future and lie on the cold banknotes every day to remember this love that ended without a result. But why couldn't Xian Han stop laughing? And the bullet comments were also scolding me for relying on women while acting arrogantly. They clearly supported me being with Feng Warner before. 5. My fate is in my own hands, not in the hands of heaven. The more the bullet comments try to manipulate my life, the more I won't let them have their way. As soon as I got back to the rental house, I immediately broke up with Feng Warner. She didn't even take her change of clothes and fled away in a hired car as fast as she could. I let out a long sigh. I packed my luggage and prepared to move into the Xian family's house. Calculating the time, Xian Han was almost at the time to study abroad. This time, I'm willing to reluctantly go abroad with her to prevent that guy named Wei from stealing her heart. With great difficulty, I sneaked into the Xian family's villa, thinking about how to make up with Xian Han. However, she gave me a heavy blow. She actually danced with a strange man in full view of everyone. Did she still remember that she was a married woman? I was extremely angry and blurted out some unpleasant words. Xian Han's eyes looking at me gradually turned cold. No, it shouldn't be like this. Despite the whispers of the crowd and the sarcasm of the bullet comments, I reached out my hand to Xian Han. Lin Xingwei frowned and looked at me with contempt. What greeted me were the fists of the security guards raining down on me. I was thrown out of the Xian family's house and had to lick my wounds alone. There came the sad news from home. My father had a stroke and died, and my mother ran away with the money. From then on, I became truly alone. I gave a bitter smile. As the saying goes, when heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on someone, it must first test his will. Xian Han, I'm willing to play the good show of a bitter and deep love with you. But as soon as I finished my harsh words, the police came to my door. They said I was suspected of spreading rumors and slander and invited me to the police station for a talk. I finally experienced Xian Han's coldness and ruthlessness firsthand, but it doesn't matter. As long as I persevere, she will surely come back to me obediently. After all, my charm is irresistible. A year later, I was released from prison after serving my sentence and prepared to go abroad to find Xian Han and resume our